Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second edition. Ooh, I got the little background noise. Sorry about that, guys. Welcome to the second edition of the podcast Spartan Fight Program Style. I don't know if that's how we want to say it. Spartan Fight Program, podcast number 2, SVP podcast, SVPPP. I don't know how we're going to introduce it from now on, but I'm here with Brooks. We're going to be talking about some Halo, some SVP stuff coming in the future, some little nostalgia today, right, Brooks? We're going to be going over the history of the podcast. I think that'll be a lot of fun, just kind of reminisce. But to start it off, let's just go right into what's happening in the Halo community itself right now. We just got done with E3. I know that was a talking point that we had before our last podcast, because I think our podcast took place the Saturday before E3. So
yes.
So I guess we all saw the little reveal that they had, little trailer for us to get our teeth into, and the most important part, a release date. So holiday 2020. We will.
How you feeling about that?
5 years is a long time to wait in between games. Every E3 for the last, I think, 3 years. Here, whose volume? One second. We're gonna go back with Mega real fast. Whose volume needs to be louder? But we'll fix that for you guys. Try to make sure that we give you guys the prime content that we can provide. But holiday 2020, man, it's a real long ways away. Hey, I'm glad that they're taking their time with the game. It's going to be on the next generation. But when you think about it, Halo 5 was really like the first real Microsoft title that came out with that wasn't a reboot with the Xbox One, right? You had MCC that came out the year before. MCC that came out the year before, and then you got Halo 5, which was probably the premier title that came out with the Xbox One, and for that to be the only real Halo game other than, the remasters that they did that came out on the Xbox One, is kind of surprising. The fact that we're just going to be going on back.
Yeah, man. I agree with you. I think that I'm glad that they're taking their time. I think that that's a concern, right? I mean, for what, Halo? I think that more or less they've done like 3 or 4 year development cycles for the most part. But the thing that we ran into with Halo 5 is that Halo 5 rolled around, and for the multiple like speculated reasons, like it didn't match up with the marketing. And when Halo 5 released, like one of the biggest controversies about it were that there was like a pretty, relatively speaking, like severe lack of content. Like we didn't have Forge, we didn't have a lot of multiplayer playlists that we were used to. I don't even think we had like scored campaign at the time, which isn't something that like I personally care a whole lot about. But we just see like the regression of like some of these things, like that we had some features in past games that they didn't keep around for the start of Halo 5, and they ended up implementing through the development cycle.
Right, so, I thought that was a really big thing to push on. Is like Halo 5 wasn't like badly received by any means when it first came out, but people were definitely upset by the lack of content that there was at the start. Like you said, there was no social playlist, right? There was no big team battle. There was just a lot of things that were no-brainer starts on a Halo game where we're missing, and hopefully, a 5-year cycle should be enough for them to figure out, hey, this is what we need to start in our game. But imagine if Halo 5 released how the state it is in today, released on launch. I think Halo 5 would be one of the best, like revered as one of the best Halo games to ever come out, at least in the last 12 years. Probably go back, hey, it's on par with Halo 3, Halo 2, Halo 1. But because it had such a rocky start, people just got off of it, And then it's just, it's unfortunate to see, to say the least.
Yeah, I think that the multiplayer in general was pretty strongly received. We have the classic versus modern Halo discussion that has become increasingly popular as time has gone on, and like people have moved away from the game, and we've had that like core community that stayed. But like for me, I think that like, the multiplayer was really well received, and for me, Halo 3 was my start. Like that was my first FPS. That was my introduction to the Halo series. And like that was the start of like my current taste in games and FPSs, which is like kind of like my preferred genre now.
Right. I mean,
So that being
I'd
said,
probably
like
be
as much
the
as
same.
I love Halo 3 and I have that soft spot for it, like Halo 5's multiplayer for me is the best multiplayer in the series.
Right. I mean, I'm probably in the same boat. Halo 3 was, I wouldn't say it was my first FPS, but it was the first FPS that was like a legitimate title, like a AAA title that I
Yeah.
played. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even have Xbox Live when Halo 3 was out. I never actually got to experience Halo 3 like online. Halo Reach was the first game that I really got up. I think Halo Reach was the first game I played online Xbox Live ever, which is like, you know, I don't know if I was late to the party, but per se, but I mean, Halo 3 probably came out when I was in middle school, so
Yeah, we're a little younger than some of these guys in here. Like I said,
yeah.
says that we're making MC mold.
You know, and
Yeah, I know we've had that discussion plenty of times. I think I was 6 when Ace was playing CE.
right, and I would be well,
So
I think Halo CE came out when I was 3, so it's just it is what it is. You know, and that I think is reflective on us because that means Halo has been a part of our life like in the popular culture at least ever since we can remember. I mean, I don't remember a time when Halo wasn't a thing. When I was in elementary school, I was running over to my friend's house to play Halo 1 on their original Xbox, you know? Like the first time I ever got like a Xbox 360 and like actually had my own rated M FPS title was Halo 3, but definitely went back in the day and was like playing it with my friends across the street. I think that's what's really missing, and I hope that's what Infinite can really draw on is getting people just to be playing that game, trying to be playing it with each other again. And I hopefully PC reinvigorates that, you know, because I know PC still has a pretty large LAN following. You know, people love to LAN with their PCs. It's not something that happens with console as much anymore. And you know, not to say that it's a regular thing that's happening with PC, but to see people in LAN centers again, to see people bringing over PCs to houses, Xboxes to houses, that's something that I would at least want to see come back to the popular culture, and it's just something we haven't seen probably for the last decade.
Yeah, and I think that for Halo 5, we were talking, just to go back to talking about E3 and the developmental cycle. So what 5 years gives them is the opportunity to work on that slip space engine. They said that they were having a lot of issues from like a developmental standpoint using kind of the legacy code that Bungie left behind, and it wasn't really like serving their purposes that well. And just from like the limited experience that I had just with my computer science undergrad, like I understand that the impact that can have both individually and organizationally, where you're trying to use like a framework that just really isn't meant for the types of things that you're trying to do. So now they had the opportunity to build this from the ground up. So it takes a little bit of extra time to get that stood up, but once they have it, they'll be able to do, it empowers their developers and it gives them a lot more flexibility and gives them more range in terms of like the types of things that they can possibly accomplish.
See, but
So that's big.
That begs the question of like, are we gonna see a regular development cycle for Halo like we see with Call of Duty? Like, you know, Call of Duty, we know when the next Call of Duty is gonna come out. It used to be 3 years, like Halo 1 to Halo 2. For Halo, mm-hmm. Yeah, Halo 1 to Halo 2 to Halo 3, 3 years. You knew when the next one was coming out. That kind of changed with Halo 4 to Halo 5. It started to be in a little bit more. I guess we have to wait and see when they're going to tell us. But I mean, now that they have this new slip space engine, that seems like something that they're going to be running with for the next.
Maybe they won't even need a new Halo game for a while.
You know, and that's a good point to bring up.
I mean, because we see a lot of games. We see games like Siege now, like that. The way that Siege works, that League of Legends works, is that the game releases and then they just work on it,
right,
over time.
But that being said, Rainbow Six Siege and Overwatch came out after Halo 5, right?
Sure.
So
Halo Infinite will come out after Halo 5.
Yeah, but we say that, and but we don't actually know if they have another game in development. Like, I don't see another Overwatch coming into.
No, Siege has a 10-year plan.
10-year plan. I didn't know that. See, look,
yeah, Siege. Yeah, so I don't know. So I mean, we'll see about that. I think that the other big thing. By the way, I can hear myself, I think, in your mic, Gary.
Oh, I apologize.
I don't know if they can hear that on the stream or not, but I can hear it.
Here, I'll just turn you down.
So yeah, another thing is that with the 5-year cycle, like I know a big part of it is like campaign. That that's something that they really had to work on because H4 was kind of good, and then H5 took a big step back from a campaign standpoint. I know that even though I spend most of my time in multiplayer, the campaign is something that like I care a lot about, and I know a lot of our players and a lot of community members care a lot about that.
Right, and
So
with
I
that
think
being,
that they're going to like they need a lot of time to like sort that out and then sort like the competitive direction out
right,
as far as
and
like what they're going to
I
do
think
with the classic versus modern.
the biggest mistake they can make when it comes to that campaign is the advertising that they did, and you brought it up earlier where the advertising was made the game seem like a completely different thing, and it was something that people actually really wanted to see. And when that didn't deliver the way that people thought it would deliver, I think that it made Halo 5 take a step back. It wasn't necessarily as bad as people thought it was, but because you thought this game was going to be a completely different entity when it came out, it kind of rubbed people the wrong way. And that's something like make sure the marketing team has actually played the game and that we're getting the right thing. What's advertised. And I think that's a big issue is like making sure that we have what's advertised to us when it comes out.
Yeah. So yeah, so we'll see about that. I'm glad that we got a release date. I'm a little disappointed that we didn't see gameplay at E3, but I just figured like even though we're still, let's say, a year and a half out from a 5-year development cycle, maybe like would naturally be perceived as different from a year and a half out from a 3-year development cycle. So
right.
Before you move on to London, were there like other things at E3 that you were excited about? Just like non Halo things?
Well, that's a good point. Like, it almost seemed like this E3 was like they're building themselves up to announce a lot of things next year. It seemed like there's some cool things that are coming out, like, but it seems like they're like, hey, this is gonna be our next, like, our last E3 until we announce the new next gen. Like, next gen is super exciting, right? And what I think is really cool is that they're planning to keep all the games that are coming in next gen to be able to play on current gen. So like anyone that owns an Xbox One X should be able to play Halo Infinite, which I think is like a cool. I don't want to say it's groundbreaking or like never done before, because obviously we have the PC market, but I like the idea of moving the console generation more to be in line with how PC works and have that become more like almost have the Xboxes become like a you can run it as long as you like until you feel like you need to upgrade. Like the graphics are getting a little bit out of whack for you and you want to upgrade. But I mean, I'm excited for Scarlet. Cyberpunk seemed kind of cool. I was in the Microsoft store when they released that, and like that trailer with a whole bunch of I don't want to say underage kids, but there was definitely a couple kids south of the age of 15, 14, 13 that were watching people get shredded apart on E3, which was interesting. But
there was some also suggestive imagery as well, if I recall correctly.
Yeah. But the big thing that came out for me that I was actually excited about was that they announced a new arena shooter, which was interesting, and like a new 4v4 arena shooter.
That weird melee shooter. One.
Yeah, it was the weird melee.
The one that was marketing itself as a melee one with guns, so it still had guns. So I didn't understand.
I didn't understand it, but I mean, if it works good and it has the support and it's a good game, I could be really interested in that. But
yeah, we're seeing a little bit more of those now. Like we see like Splitgate having some success. That's got a lot of traction.
Had success, and then it seems like they've I don't know. It's like what does it take to bring the arena genre back alive to the PC market? Because Splitgate, I think, did a great job off release. It's a great game. I played a lot of it. I probably have over 20 hours on that game because I grinded it so hard with my friend when it came out. But it just doesn't seem to be capturing the audience that it's supposed to be. Like it's I mean, it has its own community, right? Like, don't get me wrong, people are loving to play it, but it doesn't seem like it has that a massive wide appeal that I'm sure that they were hoping to get. And that begs the question: Are arena shooters just like not going to be popular? Like, is Halo going to break that mold of arena shooters being like back into the mainstream where it was before? Because I mean, let's go back to 2000 to 2006. Halo, Quake, Unreal, you know, all those arena shooters were massive, like biggest things in the market. And now it seems everything's battle royale. And is battle royale a bubble, or is battle royale going to be the new norm? And I think those are just like questions that are looming for me, because it'd be like Halo going back to PC, awesome, everyone loves it, but like, what's the point if everyone's off the game in a month? And
Sure.
that's where I'm worried about.
That's fair. I think that it's good that they're going to start with MCC on PC first. It's like it's not going to be like a boom in your face like Halo Infinite release where maybe that is a new game that comes and goes. But I think with MCC and like giving everyone the capacity to go back and enjoy all of the old stories that they love and like all the old maps and get those memories, and then also give new players the opportunity to catch up. Like I think that gives them a strong springboard then to come along with Infinite, and you know things are going to be how they're going to be with that.
Right, it's almost like you're having a soft launch for like a restaurant. You're releasing the little bits to make sure that you're getting the PC community heard and right, and then hopefully they can take all that feedback and make Halo Infinite the game that it needs to be on PC. I guess last thing for E3 before we move on, E3, we know that Infinite's coming to PC. Does the competitive scene move to PC? And if it does, what changes for you?
I mean, like, just for me, it's hard for me to experience the same level of enjoyment like crowded up over the laptop that I play on with a mouse and just like sitting up straight. Like I sit at a desk, you know, for work, and I think a lot of people do. And I'm not really trying to spend more time like that than, you know, I really have to. And it's just like there's no way for me to be like comfortable playing PC, I feel. Whereas playing on console, I get to sit back in my big comfy chair and I have the controller in my lap, and you know, it's a lot more comfortable for me. That's just the way that I like to interact with my games. Like, I'm still happy to hop on my PC and you know play Siege with Cody and stuff like that, which I'm doing a little bit more now. But obviously, I've been playing FPSs with a controller for 10 11 years now, and it's like that's not really something that I'm trying to change now. Like, and also with it being Halo specifically, where I feel like one of the biggest challenges that I have, like obviously the aim on PC is pretty intuitive. Like it's pretty easy to hop on and have like relatively decent aim, just like from the eyeball test type of aim. Obviously the people who are stupid good at PC, who are like 360 flicking people, that's a different level. But to just be able to go ahead and like snap onto people in a way that if I had a mouse and I was playing against people with a controller, even though I don't have a lot of PC experience, it's very natural, and I'd be able to have a little bit more natural of an advantage over people with a controller, just because like a mouse is relatively easy. So the thing that is difficult for me with PC and having all those buttons is that it's like difficult to move like smooth. Like the idea of like doing the things that we do in Halo 5 with like thrust sled jumping and like bum jumping and like just moving and strafing and like moving in a bunch of different directions that are not just forward, backward, left, right, or like, you know, straight diagonals. Like it's hard to move smooth without a joystick. So like, I don't know, the idea of like playing Halo with a keyboard and mouse is just something conceptually that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And I don't know if that would be different if I played more PC, if I had more PC experience, but
right,
I hope it doesn't move. I hope it stays on console.
Like you said, I thought that was a big thing. Like Shiley brought it up in one of his videos recently, or I don't know, you know how recent it was anymore. But he was talking about like drop back clambers. Like you can't do a drop back clamber on PC. It's just not possible because because it's a tactile input. Like unlike a controller where you can move your joystick a quarter of the way and you move at a quarter of the speed. You can't press your button.
That it just goes 0 to 100.
Yeah, you can't. You can't halfway press your button.
You don't have that opportunity for finesse, and like I have that issue with Siege now. Like when I'm trying to just line up a freaking pixel peak on Siege, like I keep like overstepping my pixel peak, and it just like one way or the other, and it makes it pretty difficult. Like I know that you could probably have like different peripherals and do some like software modifications that will help you with that sensitivity. But I don't know, man. It's just going to take like a lot of change. So
yeah, I mean that's it. I feel like, you know, PC on Halo definitely not a bad thing, right? Like definitely like a right direction.
Not at all.
But it's almost like what makes Halo 5 great to me is the sandbox it's in and the movement. The movement is just top tier in Halo 5, and that's something that like I mean, I'm not gonna miss sprint. They take away sprint, I'm probably not gonna miss it. But they take away the mechanics and the movement and the different things that you can do in Halo, like whether it be Halo 1, Halo 2, Halo 3, Halo 5. There's so much to do, and a lot of that doesn't translate that well onto the PC, which I mean, and I'm sure people will adapt, right? That there's obviously going to be things that you can do on a PC that you can't do on a console, and it'll be interesting to see whether they change the aiming mechanics compared to PC and console, because I can tell you right now, if they keep the aiming the same, like people will just be getting snapshotted left and right on PC, right? It's not gonna be easy.
It's gonna change the game, like being able to just like hit shots with that level of consistency.
Yeah, I mean, I played Splitgate for a week, and I was already, you know, making clips on my GTX 680. I can't imagine what would happen if I had like an actual setup and the time to really put into an arena shooter on PC. Like, I could see some filthy things happening. But nonetheless, let's talk about some upcoming Halo tournaments. They just announced Face It London. So for all our EU guys over across the sea in SVP, I hope we see them there, get some pictures, get some things. But the big event that I was really excited for, Halo 5 2v2, for a little side tournament going on. We'll see Halo 5 back on the main stage, hopefully. And it'll be, I heard some rumors that there's some NA guys from like Spartan, Penguin that were debating whether to go there. And I think it would be so awesome just to see like a good Halo 5 tournament ran once again, whether it be a 2v2 or a 4v4.
So in Atlanta, they're doing a Halo 3 4v4 and then a Halo 5 2v2?
Not in Atlanta, in London for the Face It.
Okay, gotcha.
Which I think that's a really cool dynamic, right? You have the Halo 3 there, and then it would almost be best if they had that Halo 3 4v4 main event, obviously, Halo 3 FFA Friday, and then Halo 5 2v2 Saturday, Sunday. I think that would be a great way to go about it, or you know, something like that. Just get all the side events in there, because a lot of people's tournament run ends on that Friday, right? Like there's not a lot for them to do, and I feel like the more side events that you put in, the better. Like, and that used to happen back in the days, and that's something I would almost like to see the return of, is like the 1v1s, like how FFA used to play back in the old MLG days is super interesting to me, and I'm surprised that we don't do it anymore, where they would have the FFA lobbies until they got to the end, and then it's 1v1 lobbies first to 15, and you know, that's when you see some crazy things happen with how good some of these players are in those 1v1s, and people that specialize in that. I know like back in the day, Karma used to just go in and just dominate. Like he'd be okay at the FFAs, but as soon as he got into the 1v1s, it's over, right? And that's the part of the competitive community that I feel that hasn't felt like they've been fulfilled for so long. I think the last 1v1 tournament we saw was Halo 4 Worlds.
Which I think Mega's talking about in the chat now with that Ace versus Ola match, right?
Yeah, it's a different energy watching 1v1s, you know, and like
it's fun.
It's fun. It's and it's really like true skill, like who's gonna do it in that 1v1 situation. I like to watch them. I'm not very good at 1v1s because they're obviously different from
not 2v2
and 4v4, but I don't know, we tied. Whoa.
I know that the highlights aren't up yet from the last fight night. We're going to talk about that later, but
right,
round 2 of Yu-Gi-Oh! Tools versus Brooks didn't go in your favor. Just saying.
I think I lost one round and then tied the other two, right? Is that how it went?
I don't remember, but
I'm pretty sure I lost one round and then we tied the other 2 rounds.
So you remember losing is what I hear.
Yeah. I always lose. I'm a natural born loser, man.
No shame, man. No shame.
Dreamhack 2019, not confirmed yet, but I think it's just like everyone knows it's gonna happen, right? Halo 3 probably is gonna be at Dreamhack Atlanta 2019 in the winter. The question I think that'll be interesting to pose is it a Halo 3 tournament or is it a Halo Reach tournament? Because I believe Halo Reach is supposed to be out by then, right? By the winter.
I mean, it's kind of all the same to me.
Well,
I feel like
you don't
it's
think there's a
not
different
Halo 5,
energy?
then
There's not a different energy that goes into Halo 3 compared to Halo Reach? Like,
I don't think that there's a difference to me.
I get it. I don't know, it'd just be interesting to see just like it'd be interesting to see a Halo Reach event, you know, and maybe if someone got bold enough.
Like the novelty of it would be fun. Because we haven't obviously seen like a pro Halo Reach event in how many years.
Right. And you know, I believe I heard it was I forgot. Maybe Bravo was talking about it before, but they thought about when MCC got released. They thought about the pro circuit being played on all 4 games, like Halo 1, Halo 2, Halo 3, Halo 4, and depending on the city, like how nuts would that be if we had a tournament like that? Round 1 is Halo 3, round 2 is Halo 2. Now that would be a tournament that I would like to see. But I don't know. I would like to see the return of Reach. I think like. Maybe have like I would like to see maybe a Halo 3 main event, right? 4v4, teams stay the same. Halo Reach 2v2 on PC side event would be really interesting. I think people would be really into that, and it could be. I think it would be a great event. It would almost be like, because I believe it was DreamHack, right? The last DreamHack Atlanta that had the Halo 5 4v4 and the Halo 3 2v2 side event, which, you know, and so it's not out of the question that DreamHack would be bringing back something like that they could be. That's on their radar to have a Halo 3 and a Halo Reach side event, or vice versa. And I think it would be really cool just to see Halo Reach come back. I didn't really get to experience Halo Reach on the competitive level, so I'm really interested to see how it goes. Like when Halo Reach comes out and they announce it's on the pro circuit, I'm gonna play it hard and I'm gonna try getting good at it. And you know, I just want to see it. So
yeah. So we'll see. The moved off of E3 quick. We don't have to come back to it as a full subject, but I just want to say that I'm very excited both for Borderlands 3 and Gears 5.
Oh yeah, Gears 5. Never been a Gears fan until I played. There was at my E3 watch party there was a Halo 3 event in the morning, and then after E3 there was a Gears of War 4 event. And I played in it, and I never liked Gears until someone actually showed me how to play Gears, and now I'm gonna download it this weekend. I'm gonna play it next week with some buddies from Vegas, from that Vegas event. I have some people lined up, and we're gonna play it, and I'm gonna become pro. I mean, I'm just saying right now, like you heard it here first. Next pro event, I'm gonna be at E-League. Like I've already gotten picked up by Optics.
You're gonna be wall bouncing by the next.
I'll be wall
next
bouncing.
month.
By next month, I will be in Atlanta, Georgia.
That's bold.
But I'm really excited for Gears. I think that'll be a lot of fun. And that comes out this holiday, right?
No, not even September. Both of them.
Wow, Jesus.
It's gonna be a big month. Gotta save up my vacation time.
That's gonna be a lot of fun. Next gen.
Yeah.
Halo coming out. Gears coming out. It's almost like. I bet people will be dubbing it as the revival of Xbox or whatever they want to say, but I think it's just gonna be loads and loads.
I don't care, man. It's gonna be fun.
It's gonna be so much fun. Well, I think
what's next on the agenda?
I think what we have next. I gotta go over to my notes.
I gotta let you do that.
Yeah. Oh, I know that I saw you post it. You have a new life calendar, life planner going on. I saw that. It looked intense. It looked really intense. Like there was no room for error. But
it's a first draft. But
have you implemented it yet, or is that gonna happen next week?
Starting Monday is my game plan.
So expectations for your life planner and what you hope to take away from it.
I know that I'm not going to be able to stick to all of it up front. It's going to take a little bit of adjustment. So like I know that there's going to be some transition time. Like I'm not going to be able to stick to it like every day exactly down like I have it. Things come up, life comes up. So like I have that expectation, like the realistic expectation that it's more of a a guideline than anything else, more so than, you know, like scripture. I think that that's what I would say in terms of expectations. In terms of why I made it and like what I'm looking to get out of it, is that I feel for me, I've struggled a little bit since like maybe starting my life in Maryland and like starting my career with discipline in a way that I used to be more comfortable with it. So like I think people who know me still have this perception of me being very disciplined, and that I am very good about like my exercise and my diet, and like making sure that I get time with my friends in, and making sure that I take care of myself and sleep, and you know, while I still also like take care of my work, and for the most part I do. um I'm definitely like not at a point where I'm like experiencing difficulties in life because of my inability to like balance different things. But for me, like I just have like a different standard for myself, and I think that people in general are harder on themselves than, you know, people are externally on them. So for me, like I think that I see a lot of inefficiencies in my schedule, and I see that I'm like wasting, relatively speaking, like more time than I would want on certain things, like putting time in places that I don't think that they're genuinely a priority for me, like long term. So I think the amount of time that, let's say, I spend just like watching stuff on YouTube, or um, like just for example, one example of like a time suck for me on YouTube is I'll watch like chess related videos, like strategy videos and different things like that. Some commentaries on like different games, and like it's something that's interesting to me, so like in the moment it's something that I'm interested in, and I'm happy to sit down for like a half hour or an hour, maybe 2 hours, you know, tops, just to like go down a little bit of a rabbit hole. But like it's not something that is close enough to me. Like I'm not trying to start competing in like tournaments, and it's not something that I actually like do a ton. So like relative to making time for Spartan 5 program stuff, or making time for my training, um, or like making time to like spend time with friends, like those things are more important to me. So like if I could, like, so what the schedule basically does is it's me sitting down with my, not in the moment wasting time mind, but it's me sitting down with my conscious mind of, hey, these are my priorities in my life, this is the time that I think I want to set aside for them consciously, you know, with a more purposeful, um I guess, focus. And I think that it's going to basically help me spend more my time more proportionally, so that I'm spending time on the things that I actually do genuinely care about more. That's kind of like my idea for like making it. I think that in college I had a little bit more of a schedule and I stuck to it, and it was pretty good. And right now, like I have the benefit of like not having a ton of like hard requirements. Like I have things that I have to get done, but I have a lot of flexibility. Like I have flexibility at work. Um, I have flexibility with just like my exercise and like training and like hanging out with friends and things like that. So it's easy for things to slip through the cracks because the things that I do are kind of whatever keeps my attention in like a short span. Um, so like I think that taking a more regimented approach to my schedule will help me like just focus that time
So,
where I'm on it.
what I really noticed was like what you said, it looked like you were trying to put more focus into different areas. It wasn't like a hard schedule. Like I noticed, like you were like training 4 hours. Like you're giving just yourself blocks to do general things. It wasn't like I'm gonna go out hang out here with my friend this day, this time. Like I'm gonna schedule this
Mm-hmm.
out, and
Yeah,
that's what
it's
I
like a
think is,
baseline.
yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
that's something I think almost anyone would, I think, should try to do, is try to make sure that
Mm-hmm.
things that you want to get done, things that you think are conductive to what you want to do in the future, and the goals that you have, put your focus into those things, right? And that's something I used to do, probably a couple years back for a little while. Was I made goal lists for myself, right? I said, what do I want to get done this week? What do I want to get done this month? What do I want to get done in 6 months? and I write down those goals, and like and even like beginning of 2016, right? I would be some of them like Halo related. I'd do that for Halo. Like, what do I want to get done this week? Because I wasn't like the best player. I was trying to get better. Like, hey, what do I want to get done this week? Like, what can I do better? And like, so I'd be like, I want to learn how to no scope, right? Like, that was something I used to not be very good at. Like, I can't no scope. So I was like, I want to be able to start learning how to no scope. So I took time. I'd set aside like an hour or two, like figure out the intricacies of lining up your reticle, all these little things, and just like practice it. And then applies to like real life stuff, like real life applications as well. Like, hey, I want to start to get good at this class. If you're in college, like I don't understand this class. Like, the only way you're gonna ever get better is like, hey, how can I get better at learning from this class? I'm gonna set a schedule for myself that I'm gonna go to the library for 2 hours this week to just sit down and really focus on this subject. And that's something that when you bring focus to the goals that you have in your life, that's when you get stuff done. And like, you can have all the goals that you want, but if you don't have the focus or the desire or the drive to make those things happen, they're just not going to happen. And I don't know.
It's important to set those sub goals. Be more specific. Like those things are helpful. Like excuse me. It changes them from. There's a big difference between like a dream and like an action item or like a goal. You know, there's a distinction there. Like, when you bring that specificity into it and you set those sub goals, like you make a game plan to do something and you like write it down and you commit to it, like that's different than just saying, I want to go do that.
Right. When you make your mountain so big, like when you're like when I see people come in, like, I want to become a professional Halo 5 player. Like, when you make your goal so lofty and so big, like you make the peak look so high. Like, when you're sitting on ground zero, it's almost like, how am I ever going to reach that? It's not possible. But when you say, hey, I want to do this, I want to do something smaller. Like, I want to make my CSR go up 100 points in this next 2 weeks. That's something that definitely seems attainable, right? Or you say, hey, I want to get a 80% on this paper that I'm going to write this week, when you've been averaging a 70%. That's something that's manageable. To say, hey, I'm going to go from a C+ in this class to an A+, like that's when you're getting into those problems. Like, that's a good end goal, right? Like, but that's not that's not the goal that you're trying to set for yourself in the moment. And that's like, the second that you try to pursue end goals from the start, that's when you have problems. Like, it's cool to have a lofty end goal and to eventually get to a place, but there's a difference between a dream, like you said, and something that you can do to improve yourself. Like, you should always the difference between a dream and an achievable goal is I don't know how you would say it, but like, not expectations or just reality. Like, it's just making sure that you have a good baseline check on your own self, and that you know what is attainable to yourself at the moment. That's not to say that your end goal that you want now isn't achievable 6 months from now, but you need to make sure that your baseline self, that what you are now, that you're in the position to get to that goal. Because like, to say that you can't do something 6 months from now, like I could maybe do something if I worked really hard to get to the position to maybe try to go do something for 6 months from now. That's the goal. Not to like, it's almost like the journey is the progress. Like, the progress that you make is what's important, not the actual goal itself. And I think that's it's hard. It's so hard to explain stuff like that. And it's almost like when it comes to real life application, that's where I think it's so hard to really sit down and self-reflect. Like, self-reflection is something that I've been trying to implement more into my life. Like, sit down at the end of the day and do something to say, what could I have done better this week? Like, where were my shortfalls and where can I get better? And those things, like having harsh reality with yourself, is something that's so beneficial. But it's so hard to achieve. And like, me saying this, I'm nowhere near where I want to be, right? And I'm sure you're in the same place. Like, you're nowhere near where you want to see yourself in 6 months. But the whole goal is to chip away at it and to get into the position where you can achieve that end goal.
Yeah, and I think that what you said is that one of the things that makes it really difficult is I think that when you are blatantly like not doing what you need to do in a certain area of your life, like life will find a way to hold you accountable. Something will change in your situation, and it makes it very clear to you you haven't been taking care of business in a particular way. So for me, I'm used to being very like high functioning and like balancing a lot of responsibilities. And my baseline, thankfully, is very high. So I do a good job of like taking care of things relative to maybe how other people. Uh, that being said, it's not satisfying for me because I know I can do. So I'm in a situation where like life isn't holding me accountable, but I have to hold me accountable. And when life is comfortable and things are okay and there's nothing that is wrong with your life, it makes it difficult to find that fire and find that motivation to like really grind and improve yourself in those ways, because it's a lot of extra on top of whatever you have going on in life. So it makes it like that much harder to get that extra level of satisfaction and get that extra level of discipline, I think.
Right. Because I mean, no matter what you achieve, right? Like if you have some sort of accolade that comes to you, so when someone else is like when someone else tells you what you achieve rather than like you achieving it for yourself, there's a difference, right? Like like you know what you can achieve, and setting yourself like trying to improve yourself rather than trying to improve yourself for others, like is so important. Like just having the self-care to come down, like you said, like you have an incredible baseline, right? But like I'm sure someone else that doesn't have the same baseline as you looks at you and says he has everything. Like that's where I want to be, right? That's life. Sure. That's when it's comfortable. But for you, it's like I'm nowhere near comfortable, right? And it's like self improvement is always. I think that's like in the end of the day, like SVP, what it is it's a like what people will see from the outside. It's a coaching program to help people get better at Halo. But what I think what me and you want it to be is somewhere where you can look at yourself and learn how to self-improve. And like we're here just to provide you the roadmap, to provide you help along the way. But if you really want to improve as a player, as a person, like it starts with you. Like you have to have the conversation with yourself and set those goals for yourself, and not have someone. You can't have someone providing the progress markers for you. You have to be saying, this is how I'm going to get better. This is my goal. And you can't just have other people do those goals for you. Like you can go to a personal trainer every day, but if you're not trying to make those goals happen for yourself, then doing the work that it takes without that person there, you're not going to get anywhere. And you might improve a little bit, but it's never going to be to your satisfaction. You can always do better.
Yeah, man. So that's kind of just what I had going on with the schedule. So that's my idea. Those are my expectations for that. And it's going to take a couple of weeks to transition into it. And just, for example, something like cooking and shopping. Like I just had to do a little grocery shopping yesterday because I didn't have any food, and I'll be cooking a little bit tomorrow. So I just like things are going to have to align a little bit before I could really stick to it with more accuracy. But
best advice I ever got about best advice I ever got about cooking, right? Because that was something that I took probably like 2 years ago, where I was eating out every day. Like when I would go to work, same thing. Go to the fast food place down the road. It's easy, Things that I wanted to change. I was like, I want to start cooking. I want to start bringing my own lunch. And then I went for probably a year bringing my own lunch. And then, you always have those types where I don't even want to say it's a relapse, but where your situations change, and then you let yourself get comfortable with making those bad decisions that you made before, right?
You rationalize them.
Yeah, you rationalize them. Like before, I was making lunch every day for work. Just super simple thing in life, right? Where I made that that was a thing I wanted to change. So I made that change, saved a ton of money, right? And then also was eating better. And then I moved houses. And then once you move houses, it's like, well, I don't have the groceries. I don't have the things I had. And like, it even started before where I was like, I'm moving houses in a month. Why would I want to go grocery shopping? Why would I want to pull out my cooking utensils when I have to move it all in a month, right? Like when you start to rationalize that's what makes a difference. And best thing I ever got about cooking is you find 6 dishes that you like, that you want to get really good at, right? And then you practice those 6 dishes until you have them to perfection, and that's something that like as soon as you're able to perfect a dish, and then you can just go home and whip it up in 30 minutes, where it's not a whole long arduous project to like go out like because when you're starting cooking it's hard, right? It's an hour and a half ordeal just trying to figure out when you're unfamiliar with a kitchen knife, when you're unfamiliar with how to boil water or how to cook pasta, like it takes a lot longer. But like I think it applies with anything else. Like when you actually put the time in and you take some work and you start to become more efficient at things, like your time starts to open up. Like it's a long time haul in the beginning, but then you start to realize it doesn't take me that long in reality once you get good at it. Same thing with Halo. Like Halo practice.
Oh, sorry.
Oh no, it's a real simple thing. I mean, Halo practice in the beginning, like it seems hard, but once you get into the groove, like you start to see your improvement come faster. I think that it just applies to everything in your life. But what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say that for me, like, so I like to do just like meal prep. So not necessarily always on Sunday, but like one night a week, I'll set aside time to make a lot of what will be like my more complicated meals. And I think that when I moved to Maryland and I just started with my new utensils, new kitchen, like there was one night where I think it probably took me start to finish like 6-7 hours. Like it was stupid how long it took because I was like trying to learn how to cook the things that I was cooking with what I had, and then also trying to think about how to do it better. And there was no overlap. There was no scheduling where I was cooking multiple things at once. I was just kind of going like one by one, and it was like super inefficient. So then you optimize and you do it every time and you get better. So now it's like as quality as it's ever been, and my meal prep is done short of 2 hours.
Yeah, I was about to say meal prepping.
It's like a big difference.
Yeah, meal prepping is like a different skill in itself. Like there's cooking, and then there's there's meal prepping where you're making 5 dishes in one night and learning how, like you're not necessarily just making the one dish going to the next. You're chopping up all your vegetables for each dish at the same time because there's no point for you getting the cutting board back out again. Like that's oh man, callous is a really good word for this. I always forget. Time loss. It's always time loss. Like there's little things that you can do to improve in yourself where if you can get rid of that time loss and you make yourself more efficient, you'll see the benefits later down the road, right?
Yeah, so replying to Mega's comment about like good dishes to cook, we don't want to stick on this too long. We have some other stuff that we have to talk about.
What are you talking about? This is
for
a
me,
cooking podcast.
I think it depends on your goals. It depends on your nutritional needs and like fitness goals and things. So for me, my bread and butter for like you see in my schedule, I've listed like lunch 1, lunch 2. So when I'm doing a full lunch 1, lunch 2, my lunch 1 is usually big chicken, and it'll either be if I'm doing lunch 1, lunch 2, then it's usually rice and then like stir fried vegetables, which all 3 of those things are things that are quick and very low effort. So I have, when I'm cooking the vegetables, I'll cook like, I think it's like 26 servings of vegetables technically by what the bag standards are. It's like a big bag of vegetables from Costco. So I'll be running 2 woks at the same time. The big chicken, I have 2 pans that I could put inside of the oven, which is pretty low effort because I just throw the chicken in with whatever I want my seasoning to be, wrap it up with foil, and throw it in the oven. So that cooks while I'm cooking while I'm stir frying the vegetables, and then I have a pressure cooker that is cooking my rice all in that time. So like if I'm not including cleanup time, I could probably get all of that done in under an hour. So like a week's worth of like one meal in under an hour. And then my lunch 2 is when I'm doing it, like if what I had been doing was, I haven't done lunch 1, lunch 2 in a little while, but I was doing flank steak. So I was cooking flank steak. I was cooking it on my stovetop, and then I would have that with some like tortellini, which takes like literally 2 minutes to make after the water's already boiling. So I'll do that with like some pineapple, and it's super tasty. But so I do that, and then for breakfast I do like cereal or oatmeal or eggs, bagels, bacon, that type of stuff that's all like pretty simple. I'm not a chef by like any means, but I just know what I like to eat, And I got into a situation now where I make food that I like to eat. It's tasty to me, and it's efficient. It's quick. So that's just what I do.
Right. I'm almost in the same boat where it's rice, stir fry vegetables, and I
Mm.
try to switch up my protein as much as I can because I get kind of tired of eating chicken every night, or I get tired of eating
Mm.
ground beef every night, or steak, or whatever it is. So I try to stick. But that being said, the biggest thing that I ever did was learning how to properly season. So you make your vegetables. Like, vegetables used to be a pain for me to eat. Never liked them. And then all of a sudden you learn how to
Mm.
actually properly season vegetables. Oh, life changing. Like, vegetables taste really good. But
Mm.
like, that being said, we've been spending a lot of time talking about cooking. So
So we have like life updates. So the reason I wanted to talk about life updates, and we have a little bit more time tonight because we don't have like a fight night right after, and we also don't have a player highlight. So um, life updates. So this came up. We had, for those of you that don't know Lee, Lee is 04 SVT. So Lee is actually one of the original members of the Spartan 5 program. And after the first season or the second season, he stepped back to just like focus on some of his IRL stuff. We were talking with him, and he's doing really well. He has like a house now, and things are good. And things are good at work, and he's just happy and healthy. And I was very glad to hear that the other night. But he was asking us about like what we had going on. He was surprised to hear that the program, pleasantly surprised, to hear that the program's still going strong, just because obviously he hadn't been involved in a while. He's like, yeah, things are good. And then he asked me, he's like, are you still in school? And I was like, shit, dude, it's been a while. So I just wanted to recap like for Lee and just like, I don't know, other people that might be like watching and haven't been around in a while, like just some like life updates and kind of where we've been since maybe the start of the program. So start of the program, I was in the, let's see, that would have been April of 2017. So that's the spring of my junior year when I was at Notre Dame. And since then, the program's been good. Went through school. I finished up my last couple of years really strong, so that was cool. And then I went home for the summer. And then I was working with the Department of Defense during the summer times while I was at school. So I just like resumed a position with them last August. And then I've been full time with them since August, and that's been really, really good. I've been kind of killing it. I've gotten a couple of awards so far for my work. I am highly valued. I'm probably going to end up with a promotion next month, which we're waiting to hear about, but I should be getting a little bit of a promotion. So that'll be cool. Um, I next month, July 15th, also, I will be like speaking at a conference at work, which is kind of a big deal because I'm going to be speaking in front of like a few hundred people. So that's going to be new for me. The biggest group that I think I've ever briefed in front of is like 30 or 50 or something like that. So it's a pretty big deal, and there's some high level people at this thing. So like that's an exciting opportunity for me. It's probably going to be the biggest 15 minutes of my career so far. So I got that coming up. And when I came here to Maryland, I wanted to resume just like my martial arts training. So there's a really great mixed martial arts gym. There's a lot of really good gyms in the area, but there's one of them in particular that I was really motivated to come to and start training at. So it's in like Elkridge, Maryland. It's called Crazy 88, which I still don't know where the name comes from, but it's a really, really good gym. So they have a lot of world champions in like Brazilian Jiu Jitsu and Muay Thai kickboxing, and the competitive reputation and like pedigree is like definitely there here. So I started training there in like October, something like that, and I've been having a really, really good time with that. Spending a lot of my time with Brazilian Jiu Jitsu specifically. It's something that's been really exciting for me because I don't have a lot of experience with BJJ in particular. So that's been really fun for me. Next month, actually, I think that I'll be due for like a little bit of like a rank promotion with that. The thing that's strange with BJJ is you like have your in most martial arts you think about a white belt and like, oh, that's like a beginner, so like that's somebody who like just started, and like the difference isn't really that big between them and somebody, let's say, off the street. But in BJJ, like it's not uncommon for you to have a white belt for over like 2 years or some like large length of time. So I've been training now for like 6-8 months, and we have like a at our gym we have what we call like a phase belt. It's in between a white belt and a blue belt because there's a big gap between somebody who's been training 6 to 8 months and 2 weeks. So that 6 to 8 months people, they're still training with like all of the new beginners who are coming in, and my gym's like super popular, so we have a lot of beginners come in. It kind of holds us back a little bit because we're ready for a higher level of instruction. So next month I should be finalizing my like fundamentals training there and moving on up to the intermediate group. So that's cool. And then I also have let's see. So from the time that Lee would have left, I was definitely single at the time, and I got together with my current girlfriend back in, well, officially our date is like November 11th, but I started dating. We started like going on dates and stuff like the end of July, early August last year, and we're very, very happy right now. So we're doing a long distance thing. She's like a nursing student down in Orlando. So we're doing the long distance thing, but we've been friends since like sixth grade. So we've been friends for a really long time, and our friendship has been, I guess, like long distance since I left for school. So it feels like relatively normal, and we're also pretty busy people. So it works out. So things are good. Life is good. I think that I'm just at the point where things are good, but I know that like I'm not really satisfied with how they are right now. So I'm trying to work and spend more time, like I said earlier, on the things that I want to spend time on, and should make sure that I'm getting, what I want out of life. So that's kind of where I'm at. So
Just, it's so wild to think like how different it was 2 years ago. Like life in general. Like
yeah,
like what 2 years ago you were living and by Chicago, like going to Notre Dame.
mm-hmm.
Crazy, man. Now you're up in Maryland. Just life is, it's almost like you've hit the new chapter, right? Like you closed the book on the previous chapter, and
Yeah, definitely.
it's time to move on to the next.
I'm knee deep in the new chapter now.
I'm hoping to close out my current chapter. I like what Josh said. Diamond to Onyx.
To Onyx. Yeah. So, what do you got going on?
So,
You're set to graduate what, this May?
Not this May. It would, or what? I guess next May, like because May's passed. So yeah.
Well, this upcoming May.
Yeah. So my spring semester, because I am 75.8% done with school.
Nice, man.
So I have, well, hopefully that doesn't change because I'm gonna have a slight major change, but the requirements aren't that different. So it should be hopefully an easy transition. I'm hoping just to take like 2 classes, like load myself with 18 credits and get it done. But I'm changing from film to broadcast journalism, and I want to start pursuing, because I don't know, like I felt like back 2 years ago, like I was in a good spot when it came to like school and work, but then you take on more responsibilities at work, you take on different things. I felt like my focus shifted from school to work, right? And I felt like it wasn't necessarily a bad thing, but I don't think it was the right thing for me. So I've been trying to, I've now not per my decision, but I've been moved from my department down to a lower level, not any like pay cut or anything like that, but like it almost gave me the motivation to be like, hey, Like, this isn't something I've been wanting to do for such a long time. Like, I understand that it's like what I needed to do now to live, but it almost gave me the motivation to say, hey, let's find something new. And I'm going to be trying to focus more on school. Definitely try to finish up by next spring, hopefully. If anything, like, graduate in the spring, finish classes in summer, like, if I have to. Get that degree, and then try to find something in broadcast, hopefully esports related or not, something to do with sports or esports.
Yeah,
because that's where I've been, like I've been working for my local college's football team for 3 years now, and then at the same time working in underground construction, doing like purchasing and doing material running, doing takeoffs, doing so much, learning so much about different industries inside of construction, that like it almost felt like it was a part of my life. And now I'm like, why have I been doing that? But I feel like it's gonna, like, those skills are gonna translate into other things anyway. So I'm gonna try to focus more on school. Probably I started to look around. I've had job offers at different places, but didn't really like didn't feel the fit. Like, I don't need to move right away. I don't feel like it's necessary. Gonna try to find something that's right for me, and try to just really buckle down and finish school. I think that's the biggest problem. Is it's like, if I wanted to, I could have been done with school a year ago. If I wanted to, if I really buckled down and was like, I'm just gonna focus on school, gonna take the credits, gonna take out loans, gonna do whatever I need to do to graduate, I could have done that. But like when I started college, my lofty end goal was, I'm gonna graduate and I'm not gonna have any student debt. And so far, I have no student debt. But what does that come at a cost of? Is working 40 hours a week and doing so much other stuff that I think now is the time to figure out how to proceed with life, doing other things. So I don't know. I don't know whether to say it's an exciting time, but it's the time to adapt and change. And I think that's the biggest thing, is learning how to adapt, because I feel like I just got too comfortable, right? Like I go to work, I feel comfortable like doing what I'm doing, but at what point am I giving up opportunity to feel comfortable? And like that, the biggest thing was like probably like, I think it was probably like 3 years ago, right when I started my construction job, right? I had an opportunity to work in radio, something I wanted to do for so long, but I felt like I let finances get in the way, right? Like, because I went from having a $15 to $17 an hour job, doing something at close to full-time hours, compared to moving to something that was more like $9 an hour, working 20 hours a week. Doesn't seem smart. But if I look back at it, like, I feel like the skills that I would have learned, and like doing something that you love is different. And that's something I want to start pursuing more, is like figuring out how to use what I want to do, and just finding something that's the right fit for me. So that's the way that I'm doing it. So hopefully that all works out. So it's a largely the same overall plan, but micro changes in my life, right? Making sure that the way I'm approaching school, the way that I'm approaching work is different than I was before. The way that I approach my finances, the way that I approach my social life, and those things, I have better balance in my life. And that's what the main goal is. And I think that's something that I want to do so bad for so long, but like I said, when you're comfortable, it's hard to make those changes. So I feel like sometimes you just have to have the kick to make yourself not comfortable anymore. And that's where I feel like I'm not comfortable with where I am anymore, and I want to make changes. And that's when you're in your best spot. That's when you can move on forward, is when you're not comfortable, and when you feel like you need to change. So
I heard a saying recently that kind of illustrates the thing that we're talking about, and we talked about it a little bit earlier in a really short, is that sometimes good is the greatest enemy of great. When things are good, like, that's going to be more likely to keep you from making a leap to pursue something that's great than a situation that isn't right for you.
Right. Sometimes it's good to get sometimes it's good to get knocked down, right? And it's like, it's having those corrections happen in your life, I feel are really important. So And I think that's great. Like good is the greatest enemy of greatness. Like I like everything I want to do in my life, I strive for greatness. So it's tough to like, and that's not to say that I haven't been enjoying my life. It's more to say that like I feel that I've been keeping myself down, and it's time to get to that next level and to strive for greatness. Like I feel like for the last year I haven't been striving for greatness, and that's where I want to make my difference. Is I want to be getting where I want to be. Ooh, my mom's calling me. Interesting. I'll have to tell her.
Hey, out of curiosity, do you hear music coming through my mic right now?
I think someone is having a banger next door.
There's people outside barbecuing. Let me just close my window.
Yeah, it's very light though. I'm gonna read the comments while he's doing that. Let's see.
Yeah, actually, go ahead and take a second to do that. I gotta.
How does your current phase in life translate to Halo? That's interesting. Like, the question is what goals in Halo, right? Because there's so many more goals than just to get better and to be the best Halo player. Like for me, like I've always wanted to probably pursue becoming a caster, pursue like getting onto the stage in some way. But how to approach that is the question. Like I definitely want to start like trying to make those, like I feel like I have the skill set to make those things happen, but like I said, I have to make those goal plans I was talking about earlier. I have to say what am I trying to achieve in 3 months, what am I trying to achieve in 6 months, and to make those goals realistic and to have those goals achieved is so important. Hi. I'm in the middle of a podcast. What's up?
I was wondering if you still were.
Yeah.
I was just coming to get my stuff.
Bye. Oh, you want to go say hi to everyone? You can say hi to everyone if you want.
No.
Okay. She said no, guys.
Fine, hi.
She said hi. I don't think you guys could hear it, but I don't know. I want to start getting closer to achieving goals that I have, whether it comes to my professional career, whether it comes to my Halo playing career, whether it comes to just becoming a better person in the community, right? I want to become, not necessarily that I need to be known, but whether I can make a positive impact on the people that do know me. And I think that's what's important when it comes to my Halo career. Like, I'm not necessarily just playing to get better. I'm playing to have a positive impact onto the people that are around me. And if I can go and do something more in Halo, that would be the ultimate goal. It's tough to find happiness. That's not true. Don't tell me good job, pay me more. Don't tell me good job, pay me more. I think that's probably
hey fucking men, dude.
Here, why don't you take a second so I can see what apparently my mom's in town and she wants to get dinner, so that's cool.
Tell her we're busy.
I know.
So, while you're doing that, the next thing on the agenda is to talk about the history of Spartan 5 program.
Ooh, the exciting part, man.
Yeah, definitely. So, this was kind of in the same scope of the life updates a little bit. In that conversation the other day, I think that Megazyme maybe was around, and like I think Adam would have been around, and when Lee joined, I was like, wait a second, do you guys know who Lee is? And then they had no clue, because even though guys like Mega and Adam and Vestal are mainstays in the program now, as far as I'm concerned, they were not around from the start. There's nothing wrong with that, but it just it's hard to have that perspective naturally, running it this whole time, that the experiences of some of these guys were a little bit different, right? I think that there are some guys who like are in the program now and didn't know that we used to have like 2 divisions, and we had teams where each team had like, yeah. So yeah. So from the start, and the way that the Spartan 5 program started was that I had like I was always interested in like kind of like coaching and like helping people like get better and stuff like that. And in my old Spartan company, like I was kind of like the go-to for like learning how to play a little bit more competitively. So like for anyone who was interested, we had Brooks's School of Get Good, and it was just kind of like a loose free flow type of thing where I offered some help to players in the company who were interested in like learning a little bit more about competitive play. So I had like one thing led to another, and I left that group. Some drama, and there was some amount of time that I was still like playing Halo, just kind of like solo for a while, and then I think we get to be like March, April, something like that of 2017, and I was kind of motivated to like continue like having that experience of being able to help people out and like help people get better at the game. And for me, like it would have been good. Like I didn't like all the people that I was playing with. I wasn't playing with them anymore, so I could either find a bunch of like new friends individually, just organically, or it was like I could just train my own sweats. I just need to find the people that I like, and I could just make them good, and then that's how I could have good teammates. So I posted on Reddit, on like the Halo subreddit or whatever, about like, hey, I don't know, like Gary, I don't know if you want to go like try and pull it up or something like that.
I mean, I could definitely pull it up.
Yeah, I don't remember what I said,
it
but
was really fun. I'll find a way to get it.
Yeah,
Mute my mic
yeah.
and start doing some typing.
So yeah, I put up in a post. I'm like, hey, like I have this kind of idea. I used to play in this league and like do this thing, and like I don't know if somebody like if anybody would be interested in this, but you know, I don't know. Like, what do you think, basically? And then I went to bed that night after making that post, and then I woke up and I literally had like next to the little mail message on Reddit where it tells you how many you have, at 170 messages, like the next time I looked at it. And that was like literally the biggest number, obviously, that I've ever had in my Reddit inbox. So it was just like a shit ton of like DMs and like comments from people who were interested, people just listing their gamer tags, and like yeah, there was a lot going on. So I like the first like 2 or 3 days, I think I spent like literally just talking to people and like sending messages on Xbox Live and like maintaining a spreadsheet with everyone who's interested and like information about them and things like that. And then I set up the Discord server and things like that. So,
going back to the Reddit post real fast,
mm-hmm.
I go back. I never realized that you actually posted a comment, like a pinned comment that was like, who's interested, and like seeing the names from back then is such a trip, right? Because you like interested coaches like Brooks, Yu-Gi-Oh! Tools, MCM9105. Don't even know who that is. That's Micah. Yeah, that's a different gamer tag. That's Micah. Yeah.
It's Micah's old gamer tag.
Flying Tango. There you go. I remember him. Killer Dad, aka Strawley. Yeah, OG coach right there. Obi-Wan Jabroni, Japanther. Like so many guys that were just like way back in the day. And it's like, it's almost like we've gone through like different transitions, like of the original OG people that are. I mean, there's still a lot of them still around, but like. It's almost like the people that like really took it to heart went and found their own players, that like their own people that they knew that would take it to heart, and then introduce them to the program. And I really liked how it was like word to mouth, like people that really wanted to get good and people that really liked the positive community that we provided started to join. And like just looking back, like look, you got Space Christ, G Stang, Architect, Raiche, Fender. Ooh.
Yep, there's Trey and Jeff in there. Yeah, Rick. Cinny.
Cinny, love Cinny, man.
Baracus is there. Yeah, man. It's a trip, and just like because like for some of these things, like it's my first interaction with like so many of you. Noodles there. So like it's crazy, how often in life do you get to like think back to like the first interaction that you had with somebody? So like now, for example, like Gary, like wherever your name is in here and all these comments, like That is the first time that I ever talked to you in any capacity, and it's just there on the internet.
Yeah, it's wild
You
to
know?
think. Wild to think about like
So
how you can almost like, and it's becoming more common in modern day where you can like go back and you can pinpoint when you met someone, right? And that's always such an interesting thing. And now like you think about it, like we've probably talked for like, if you were gonna record all our audio logs and chat logs, like we had to have over a month of data to sift through, right? Just if you wanted to sit down and just read like a chat log of what happened, like all our conversations, at least over 30 days worth of just,
there's a lot going on.
yeah. It's crazy to think like how intertwined people's lives have become because of just a common goal of getting better at Halo. So it's just really,
Yeah, it's really strange. Yeah, so looking back, that's kind of how it got started, and then the initial steps were like kind of how it was going to work. So the initial idea for the Spartan 5 program was to have a coach dedicated to like each team of like 4 or 5 players, and then we would have a league, like an internal league, where those teams would play against one another with the interest of getting better. So the idea for that came from something that somebody else in the community used to run called the Swords of Sanghelios League. That was loosely related to like kind of getting better, but the way that was structured is it was like one Onyx plus player that would play with 3 Diamond or lower players, and then they would just play against each other. So it was a little more competitive, but like the loose idea is that those lower players would maybe learn some things from the Onyx players, which kind of did happen a little bit, but it didn't go past the first season. Just like it took a lot of time and things like that. So it was, but that was kind of the inspiration. So I think I wanted to kind of do something like that because I had a lot of fun with that. And I thought that would be a good experience for the players that were going to sign up. And that's kind of how we got started. So we had teams with their own coaches. We see that we still have Kitty Squad and Fury chats in Discord. So we had like Kitty Squad, we had Fury, we had 343 Guilty Sparkles, we had Baggage Down, we had Raiders of the Lost Roach, we had Eclipse, and what was their name before? What was it before Eclipse?
Taskmasters? Was that Taskmasters?
No, that was Fury's team. That's Fury.
Let's see, because this is what I remember: Kitty Squad, 4 Meat Pizza, Raiders of the Lost Roach, Team Vilify, Taskmasters, Team Alliance, 343 Guilty Sparkles.
Team Alliance, I think, is what Eclipse used to be.
Yeah.
Because I think Alliance was a combination of a couple of other teams. Don't forget about Nerf These Thumbs, NTT.
Yeah. Nerf These Thumbs, Team Legacy. One of my favorite names, Pups and Suds. That was a really good name. Baggage Down. Like it's
there was Master Chefs.
Oh yeah, that was one.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, man, it was a fun time. I think I was coaching Kitty Squad and did a little bit of coaching with Master Chefs. Fender was my co-coach on Kitty Squad. Couldn't ask for anybody better. Gary, you were coaching 343 Guilty Sparkles. Josh was involved with Baggage Down, and Stu oversaw Nerf These Thumbs. Arrow was Vilify, and then Japanther was Eclipse. So
I feel like we're missing.
So yeah, that was kind of.
Like we saw it.
No,
did Strongholds?
Yeah. So I was just talking about it.
Or
he had like Easy Wins, which was a little bit of an EU team for a little while.
Yeah, but
we had a little bit more of an EU presence prior. Yeah,
never actually competed in that main league, which was I don't know. Like if you were to go back in time, was that a mistake not to involve the EU teams in the North America? Because we used to have. When we first started, we had a surprising amount of EU players, like enough to.
I think we had like 12 or 14.
Yeah, like enough to have like 3 teams, I think, which was, but we never actually we never gave the go ahead to be like, hey, these EU teams are going to be competing. I don't know. Like if you were going to go back and do it again, would you have wanted to involve them?
I think so. I mean, I understand like the challenges that I had at the time. Like it was difficult, like managing the timing of it. So that wasn't something that I had a lot of experience with. I still didn't understand like how people kept their schedules or like made time for things. I think that going back, like maybe I would have tried a little harder to try and get them involved, but I don't know in actuality if there was really a lot that I would have been able to do.
Right, because the scheduling
Practically
was
different.
so precise back then. Like when I think back on it, um, the fact that we had a inaugural league that didn't have as many replays, like we definitely had the preseason, which had its bumps of people not playing and
Yeah.
games getting stagnated. But I think that's why, and honestly, a large reason of why our original season was so successful is because we had that preseason. Where I think that's something that maybe HDL could have learned from, was having a base stone to like really know which players were gonna be there for the long haul. And I think there was probably only like a handful of matches throughout this season that got replayed in that inaugural season, which is crazy to think about, like how often teams played.
Yeah, Joey Lee was an original member of Guilty Sparkles.
Yeah,
He was
he was an
him,
OG.
Eliminist, Angry Fawn.
Wow, you won't even let me say my own team roster. You got to do it for
Who are
me.
the other ones?
What? SVT,
Smarter?
someone smarter, M37, Angry Fawn, Old Man Fender over there, until we had a little bit of something going on over there. Bring that one back. For a short time we had Kadaris Hex, and then Kadaris Hex got dropped for Cortosaurus Hex, and then he got dropped for Eliminist. I think Eliminist was the last member of 343 Guilty Sparkles, which he really brought together the vibe.
I think that what the players have now is like we have a very positive culture, and for the most part, like we're very self-managing. Like we kind of all have a shared vision and the same like expectations in terms of culture for the most part. So like we hold each other accountable, and that's really great. And over time, like since the start of the program, I think that was one of the biggest things that has been like a source of feedback to me from players and coaches alike, is that they really have appreciated the culture that we have. So, we've been very, I think, consistent with how the culture's been, and it's been like a consistently positive experience for the last while. And I think the penultimate like end to any drama or like problem people that we had, like I think that wrapped up with Hex.
Yeah, I don't think we ever had like any. I think the problem, like why we remember that one so much, was because Hex was there for a while, right? And
I mean, I remember that one because I had like 20 pages worth of conversation going back and forth with him.
That was
wild.
That was.
Do you remember that? I think we still have that.
Oh no, I still had the documents on my computer. I definitely remember it because I was directly involved. But
yeah, man, that was wild.
my team had a lot of unnecessary drama, I believe, but that's why I always say that Dustin saved our team, because like it was we had a lot going on, and then I think Dustin came in, and like it was finally like a fourth player that got the vibe of like what Spartan 5 program is supposed to entail. Was like it finally like kind of clicked, where everyone just like got along.
Yeah.
But
so I think Joey's referencing when my patience for that bullshit was that of a saint. Yeah, so I mean, I think that we're going to talk a little bit later about like what's to go for the program and talk about the application process. And Gary, are you trying to get out of here by like 9?
Oh, I have no plans. So
all right, fuck it. I'm happy to keep going.
Then. Yeah, let's just keep
having
going.
A good time. Yeah. So the something that'll change. When initially I was very happy and I wanted to take a lot of input from different people, and I really cared a lot about like not being trigger happy with like kicking people or banning people for just like personal reasons. And I think that I'm glad that I did that, and I took the time to do things the way that I did them. I think that I'm pretty happy with how I handled it. But I think going now, like if we went into Infinite and we had a lot of traction and we had a lot of new people come in, like I'd be pretty comfortable like making those personal calls. Like I have that confidence. I know that I have the trust of all of you guys, and I have you guys behind me. Like that I'm not some like crazy dictator man.
Like so we're not gonna have uprisings again.
Yeah, so there's a there's a difference now, because I understand, I think, my leadership style as far as it pertains to like the Spartan 5 program, where ultimately I am like a democratic authoritarian. So I'm happy to play the dictator card when I need to, but ultimately, even if I'm not going to have like committee decisions where we're like voting on shit, you know, I know that the final say lies with me, but I like to take a lot of input. I get a lot of value out of talking to you coaches and players alike when I'm trying to make different decisions and get those different perspectives.
But when you say that, I think that was so I think that was so important to like why we progress the way we do.
Yeah.
Because like when people just rule by committee, it leads to so many issues. Like I've never seen something that like is always ruled by committee and have a good successful start. At least if you're gonna start on like a grassroots level where you have people.
Lets us be quick and it lets us adapt to the problems that we're having quickly.
Right. It's like when you have people that are at various commitment levels that are trying to make this, when they have the same equal voice and impact on the league, it makes such a drastic difference. And I think that might be a systemic problem that like HDL is having right now is like there's no one person that's like in charge, like and that's the thing. Like it was like for a long time it was just Brooks. Like I didn't get called up until I think after season 1, to where I was like more on a leadership role, but it was just Brooks. Like if Brooks said something, that's it. Like there's no arguing. Like he is in a short sense God of SVP. Like whatever he says is gonna go. So when you have problems, when you have quote unquote administrators for people for a 50-person league, that's when you have problems. Like there only needs to be 1 or 2 people in power. There can be people that can relay the messages of people in power, but you can't have too many cooks in the kitchen when it comes to small upstart things like SVP was.
Yeah, so I think that allows me to be lean. It allows us to make decisions quickly. And I think that it also lent us the advantages that come with a consistent, unified vision. So, like, because the decisions lie with me, it allows me to be more consistent and us collectively more consistent about the direction that we take things. So, all of the little decisions that we make along the way are made with like a path or a goal in mind. And since the mind that kind of more or less is guiding that path is just me, let's us make all those decisions in a way that's conducive to where I want to go. So when we're in a situation like we are now, where we are like a relatively like lean organization, so to speak, like we don't have a ton of people. We like everybody communicates with everybody. I am in touch with everybody, and you guys like trust me to lead us on into the variety of things that we do and that we will do. With that trust that you guys have in me, it empowers me to be comfortable making those types of decisions and knowing that everybody is here because of the culture that we have and that we have a lot of those agreements about how we should approach X, Y, and Z things. I think that players and coaches feel represented when I'm making these decisions. And for me, it's good to know that I have that I have everyone behind me, like making those decisions. So even though I'm the one making those decisions, what makes them easy is that we share that unified vision.
Right. And just to hop on that, I feel like if you were going to ask any player in our program, like that's active, like how they identify in Halo 5, they I think most people would say they're a Spartan 5 program member, like, right? That like that's almost their identity when it comes to their Halo. And that's something I think that I don't know how we did it or how, like, I don't think you could ever replicate it. Where you make a community where it's like it's actually a community where it's not people that are just playing in a league just so they can have a league structure, like kind of like HDL is. Like I don't think you can go in HDL and say, hey, like I'm an HDL player. Like the people aren't saying that, they're just a Halo. Like I just play Halo 5. But you go, like, if I was gonna go up to Megazyme and say, hey, what do you do in Halo 5? Like he's gonna say, oh, I play for, like, I am part of like the Spartan 5 program. Like I'm trying to get better. I'm trying to become like a better player in general. Like Spartan 5 program almost like has become an identity for so many people in the program. Where
that's really interesting. I like that.
Yeah, and it's that's where I think the main difference comes in from other places is like so much of why people are behind each other is because they feel like we're not just not even a community. I'd almost go so far to say like we're a family, but like everyone here has each other's backs. Like no one's gonna go and stab the other person in the back just to get a little bit higher. And I just, like I said, I love everyone here. Y'all are great.
Yeah. So and there was that while like when we're running the league, like I actually had an issue with the idea of it being a like quote community, and I'm sure that you could remember that where I made that distinction. I'm like, we don't have a community here. We have like an environment that's dedicated to this purpose.
No, I remember
because I had this understanding that community, like for me, the definition of something that is like a community, it's like people coming to like hang out and just like spend their time and like it. Like how often do you associate the word community with like a sense of purpose?
Right.
You know?
I remember the big thing was when we were first starting, because I was doing all the broadcast for a while, was that there was one time where I put Spartan 5 League, like it was like league, and you were like, we are not a league, we are a program. Like there's a big difference, and like those little words make a big difference when someone comes into the Twitch stream and it's like, oh, what is this about? Because that's a lot of players came from Twitch streams, like not necessarily players that are here now, but people that originally joined the program, like they saw it on Twitch and then they're like, hey, like what is this? I'm gonna join and like hang out with these guys. But making sure that people know that it's not just a league. It's not people playing for money. It's not people playing for accolades. It's people trying to get better. It's a program to get better. And it's like Asgard's not a place. It's a people, you know, but that's how it is, you know.
That's something I'm really thankful for, like my education and my like work experience, is that it puts me in a position and I have the background experience to, I think, do what I want to do with the program effectively. Like it's allowed me to build the culture and like play the politics, and like as much as I have you guys as like friends and people now, like you weren't always my friends and you weren't always like family for me. Like there was always the politics of engaging in these relationships with you guys. And like there's no doubt that the way that I went about like making decisions, or the way that I go about expressing my viewpoints, and the way that I go about communicating with you all, there's no doubt that everything is very, very calculated from the start. And like you had said, the difference between league and a program and a community, like those are three very different things for me. And it's been very regular since the start of the program for me to think about these little nuances over time that I don't think anybody else has to think about. And you know, those various experiences of mine and skills of mine have allowed me to be particularly effective in like establishing this community. So like I'm really, really grateful that I had the background to make this happen. So that being said, you know, so we did have that switch then. Josh is asking now the difference between like a program, a community, and a league. So the idea of a league for me, especially as like a lifetime competitor of different things, is that is a place for people to, you know, test their skills against one another. That is a place for people to compete, either for the sake of competition or for a prize.
Right, straight competition.
The idea is that there's stuff on the line there. The idea of a community for me is something that, in general, is a little bit more casual. I think that you can like set a community aside for a specific subset of people. So you can have a community for gay people, for old people, for players that are, you know, just like Halo 5 players that are like looking to improve. But the like my initial connotation of community and my initial definition of community, and that was the definition of community that I wasn't comfortable describing the program with, is maybe something, Josh, like Shyway's Discord, where it is a little bit more casual. You don't have that personal connection to it in the same way. You know, like the Halo 5 community isn't necessarily the people who are playing Halo 5 all the time and are talking in the forums all the time, but it's like everyone who plays Halo 5. Like that's the way that I feel about it. Obviously, the stronger voices are the ones closer to the center, but it does include everybody. versus like program, where the idea of a program is that we have a little bit of like that teacher student structure. We have like a unified purpose where there's like a progression, and there's not just like a loose idea, but it's a program. The idea is that there is a purpose where there's a goal as a player to start here and then get progressively better over time due to the various things that are set up in this group, one way or the other, however you want to call it. That progression is there. So the idea of it being like program, I think it has more structure than something like a community.
It's almost
it's different.
It's almost as if a community and a program, I think the biggest difference is like, I know it's stupid, like companies have it all the time, but there's a mission statement, right? Like there's something that everyone can get behind, and like that's not necessarily a part like of a community. Like if you're going to talk about like Shyaway's community or other content creators community, the Rooster Teeth community, so many different like communities, that's just people that all have like a general interest. But when we talk about a program, that the people are actively a part of that program for a specific reason, and that specific reason in our case was to get better at Halo 5 Guardians. Like that was the specific reason to get.
Yeah, that difference is specificity. That we're here with purpose, and like the level of involvement. So the level of engagement and the level of specificity, the purpose that we're here within. Like, I don't know now that even like program and our current implementation is as accurate as it could be, because we don't have like maybe the same level of structure that we used to. It has been a little more free flow in recent time. So I think that program is still applicable. I think that of those three words, like that's definitely the closest thing. But yeah, so then just history of SVP. So we went on, eventually the league's dissolved. It took a lot of time for me, like, to manage the administrative part of the league. And I think that there were also a number of people involved with the league where that was kind of their be all end all, is that they did want to compete. And for example, like Munchie, right? So Munchie's still around, but he doesn't play that much anymore. And Munchie's view for a long time, I don't know if it's changed at all. And it's not knocking him at all. It's not like a wrong viewpoint to have. But for Munchie, his reason to get better was to compete in the league. Like, it was a cyclical thing where he's playing in this league to get better, but the only reason he's playing to get better is this league. He wouldn't be interested in otherwise. And there's nothing wrong with that. But it's not a viewpoint necessarily that I agree with, because that type of specific goal, like if we are making our goals in such a way that they rely on, for example, just like my arbitrary decision to make this program a league-like structure, then if he doesn't have it anymore, then he wasn't doing it for the sole enjoyment of like doing it and getting better, and like not in a personal way. It was external. It wasn't an internal motivation. So like that was an important distinction for me. And I think that there were a number of people in that league structure where they had those external motivations of wanting to get better, to like be better for like that league specifically. And that wasn't the type of environment that I was trying to create, because I think that when you have that competition, there's ego, and that makes it difficult to have the type of culture that I want to have that's conducive to the level of learning and positivity that is really important to me. So we did away with the league structure after a certain amount of time. And between like my life getting busy with like my senior year and people kind of taking a step back and like playing a lot of different things, we went through a transitionary period for a while where we really didn't do a whole lot, and it was like a little LFG for a while. And I started to scale it back up by, drawing up a little bit of curriculum. I think that like most people in the program don't know that I started a little side project at the time for the people who were more invested. I called it the Fire Team Integrity Project, which is still my fallback name if 343 ever comes after the Spartan 5 program name. I love that name. So I took some of the players that were a little more dedicated, and we broke apart, and we're a little more structured. We did have like a structured curriculum where we were working on specific things. We were working on one or two things every specific month, and that worked well. But then we started to ramp things back up from the program perspective. So I just kind of killed that. And just brought it back to the program, and that's kind of how we've been cruising now. So then with HDL spinning up and the way that things have been, I think that we've been pretty active since then, and we're going to continue to do what we've been doing now. Maybe ramp up a little bit in terms of like organization, which we're going to talk about that.
Right. I think that'll be a big topic to go on later. But there was one part that I think was a defining moment for SVP was when we got done with when we went away with the league structure. And honestly, like if I had to think about it now, like that was probably the healthiest thing that ever happened to the program, was the fact that
I would agree
that we don't have a league anymore, because so much,
that was our biggest big decision.
Yeah, so much of the players and the mentality that went into like playing in a league is so different from the mentality of just playing to get better. And I think it was endemic on Arrow's team, Team Vilify, was like those players were probably the best in the program. Like, like they did really good work, but the only real motivation that they had for playing was to play in the league. Like it was to be the best in the league. It wasn't to be the best player that they could possibly be. And I felt like when we saw that happening, and when we saw that happening and developing in more teams, developing in more players, like that, it was more the idea that we need to play in the league. We need to like win this league rather than it's just playing to get better. Because the biggest thing that we ever wanted to do was, hey, these matches have no impact on your life. Like it does not matter if you win or lose a match. Like that's not what you take away. And we had a discussion for the longest time of, do we stop the game at 3 series? Like I think it was like we had a discussion like, how do we make it, like how do you play in the league and try to prove the point, like, hey, we're not playing to like win the games, we're playing to play and to get better. Like you're supposed to take these matches and take them to improve. So we had a thing for a while where you would play the entire best of 5, where it didn't matter if you lost 3-0, 5-0, right? It was, you play all the way to game 5. I think we did that for Bravo, the Bravo League, for a while, because what was different about the Bravo League? Because we had that. So if you weren't a part from back then, we had the league, and it was structured into 2 divisions. We had the Alpha and the Bravo divisions, and the Alpha division was the teams that performed the best in the preseason. And those teams were playing for, I guess, what you would call the ultimate prize, right? Like at the end of the season, they were going to have the team that was on top. They were going to be ranked like the team that won SVP. Which, like, now that I look back on it, like, I don't necessarily agree with how we rolled that out. Like, we could have made it more clear. But Bravo was a little bit different because the structure wasn't the same as Alpha. Like, we wanted to make sure that those players weren't as good as the Alpha players, which is so weird to, like, I think about it now. Like, there was Diamond players in Alpha, and there was Gold players in Bravo, and that the skill gap was drastically different between the 2 divisions. Like,
I mean that's why we had it. It wasn't like the champion leagues in HDL, for example, where it's just a random distribution of teams. The purpose of the Bravo versus Alpha was that like developmental league perspective for Bravo, but they didn't have maybe as much time to commit, and they didn't have as much skill. So we were going to work on a different level of play with them and get them that opportunity to play with teams of a similar skill level more frequently than if they were playing all of the teams that were in Alpha. That would have been a rough time for them, and I don't think that they would have gotten maybe as much out of it. So that was kind of the perspective that we had when making like Bravo versus Alpha. But that being said, like I agree that I think that I'm glad that we moved away from that league perspective.
I felt like it felt like it moved us in a healthy direction. Like the people that stayed, the people that, like, it was almost like they got what we're going for, right? And I like, if I had to start it up again, like the league was important to getting people in the door and getting people on board for what we were trying to provide. But I think it was so much more efficient for us to have coaches that have different specialties. Like I would say like what you can teach players and what I can teach players are drastically different. Like we do not focus, like we're by far not in the same focus group. So when you have specific questions about specific things, like you're gonna talk to a different coach. Like if you have questions about your little micro
100%.
tendencies, like if I need someone to go through my micro play and say what am I doing, like in split second decision making, like with my pistol and how I'm shooting people, I talk to Brooks all day. Brooks and Josh, like those are the players that get that on the most fundamental level. But if you were gonna like say what is going on with my positioning, what is going on with my map awareness, what is going on with what I am specifically pushing, I talk to probably Stu and me, because we're the players that really delve into the macro more than other coaches. And like we're gonna go and sit through your film review, and we're gonna watch from all four angles and figure out what position, what lane you need to be filling. And you know what, and that's not to say that different coaches don't have different benefits, or not to like toot my own horn, you know, like we have different,
we have things like that we're like naturally gravitate towards, that we like to talk about in addition to, you know, being able to,
right. And that's what I think is beneficial, is when players can start getting more resources, because for a while it was like you're stuck with your coach. So I could have had a player on my team that wasn't necessarily like a right fit.
Yeah, there wasn't like a hard line in the sand. Like the expectation was that you could ask other coaches for things, but functionally, you know, what just happened just because people are people, is they're like, oh, this is my team, this is my coach, and
it's
like
a competition,
going and like taking so there was a little bit of competition, and then just the idea of like comfort, like you're infringing on another team's time by maybe talking to a different coach, you know, or like maybe is there a little bit of like that situation where if mom tells you no, then you go talk to your dad. Like, you know, is there like any of that drama that goes on with the coaches? Which obviously, I think for the most part, the coaches were pretty civil. And we did those like workshop things for a while to try and instill that environment. But that wasn't always clear to the players, you know, in and of themselves, if they're not talking to us, asking us these things.
And
so,
you know, I personally like where we are now with how we try to help. Like the biggest thing that we did was the coaches and analysis channel in the Discord was starting to get used a lot more. And I think like if you're not using that resource right now, that's a resource I would use, because all you have to do is submit a little bit of like play time on your clip, and I guarantee you, like either Brooks, Josh, me, or Stu are gonna respond with something that you've done in your gameplay.
Or Laz.
Or yeah, Kalos. You all have Kalos come up. Arrow now
Paul in there now.
That
you know,
he's more involved. Great. Paul, like, and there's so much more that I feel like that we can teach than we did before.
Yeah, I one thing that I like about our structure now is that, all right, Mega, take it easy, man. Not only like is it more open and inclusive, and I think that it instills that sense of family and community, like the positive parts of community that are appealing to me. But also from like an administrative standpoint, this isn't something that takes a lot of time. When we're doing new things, when we're doing podcasts, if I'm holding office hours, if we're getting like the new website ready, like those are administrative things that take time. But it doesn't take me time on a normal given week to monitor chats and like make sure that people are in line. And you know, there's no routine work. It is self-managing. We have that culture where we're all moving in the same direction. We have the same vision. And I don't need to spend time like doing those things. So it's very easy to manage for me. And that, you know, it's free form that is advantageous. It's, you know, being free form is advantageous because people are kind of able to gravitate towards what they need to get better. And it doesn't require any extra effort from me to organize that. You know, we have that culture of like, hey, if you're struggling with something, you bring it up and you talk about it, you ask for help. Outside of those like opportunities where maybe we're talking about specific things, or we're like asking players, like we'll kind of prod players a little bit to get them outside of their comfort zone and get them to stretch. But it's very easy for me. Like there's a lot of thanks that goes to me, like for like this is something that Pete and his wife sent me recently. It's a metal plate. It's a disc plate, and it's very nice, and I love it. But you know, he that's gonna fall. I just need to put them down. But he sent it to me just to say thanks, for like building the program up and taking care of business. And, it took a lot of work over time, for sure. There's no doubt about that. But I think that thanks to you guys and the fact that you guys have trusted me with our direction and, have been with me, all this time, like besides doing these new things, doing the podcasts, in a normal routine week where we don't like do anything proactive, I'm not doing any extra work on the back end. Like right now, it's pretty self-managing, which I'm thankful for. So
I think that was another thing that happened when we took a step back from the league structure was, I think especially in that first bit where it was insane how much effort, like back end work was put into the original league where your schedules, like everyone provided their schedules. And then you were put on a team depending on whose schedules matched up the best. And then on that team, you would get scheduled with different teams depending on their schedules. And you would have a match date and time set aside well in advance. And then just absolutely mind-blowing. Like, I don't know why you did that to yourself. Like if I was going to look back into it today, like that was an insane amount of effort to put into something that was the size that it is. But it definitely helped. Like, it definitely made it. I think that back end work was one of the main reasons that we had such a successful league where people were playing, where people weren't missing matches, and that was conducive to getting better. Yeah. And it's like that back end work that's required. It's that it's not necessarily that we're burnt out or that we don't want to do it, but it's at the same point. It's like, well, what's the cost benefit on doing that kind of back end work? And I think right now we're in a good spot, and no more back end work will be developing as we move closer to Infinite, as we start to have different things pop up for us. I think we're in I really like where we are right now. But
another thing that I really appreciate is how everyone like offers to like pitch in with different things how they can. So like I'm working with Adam on the website. I work with you on all of our production stuff, any streaming that we do, doing the podcasts. Xavier, he's been working really hard on like the Fight Night highlights, which he's been having a lot of technical issues with his laptop and like rendering the video. Like he had a lot of issues with Sony Vegas crashing the last couple of weeks on top of him being like, pretty sick and taking care of like just his personal business. So that is I like that everyone looks for those opportunities to help out where they can. And I think that's something that I really appreciate, because it is something that like I don't ask you guys to pay for. I never will. But, that being said, we do have like that potluck mentality where everyone's trying when they can to bring something to the party. And I appreciate that.
I was thinking back because it's interesting to think of how the league itself, like in the early days when it was a league, or not necessarily, but when we had the league structure, I should say, how if you were to look at it through different people's perspectives, how different it is, right? Because from your perspective as the founder, as the administrator, there's so much more back end work for you, and it was almost like, because I think the way that I came into it, I was coaching 343 Guilty Sparkles, and there was just like a match one day, like in a preseason, where it was like, hey, I was with Fender. I was in a party chat with Fender. I think we'd just gotten done with a session, like a game session for the team, and I was like, you want to cast this match? Like, we should cast this match. I was like, that would be a lot of fun. Like, we should do that. And eventually, like, for the longest time, it was like
a thing.
It became a thing. Like, we were having matches.
It was fun.
It was really
good. People like that.
Yeah, and like, but like to think of like that's like my story from how SVP was for me and how SVP was for you and how SVP was for the players is so different.
Sure. Yeah. And everyone has their own story with it.
Right. And like, it's like, now it's like, I so wish that we were almost back in the day where I could just be casting with Fender again, because that was like, so much fun. Like, that was probably one of the best highlights of my Halo 5 career was doing the casting with Fender in the beginning of the seasons, and how you know, it became so much, it got amplified because what you said, the potluck mentality that we had that went into it, where we had graphic designers that were in the program that is just like, I didn't ask for graphics, someone just sent me a DM with graphics in them, and I was like, hey, I really liked what you're doing, like here's some graphics. Or it was like, what in the world is happening? And then Archer comes in later and is like, hey man, if I jump in your party, I can sit in the other party and you can do listen-ins. And then we figured out how to do listen-ins, and so many different things. It's like
listen-ins were hype.
Yeah, like those little differences that we make, like absolutely impact, like the impact that they had on my life, and hopefully the impact that they can have on other people's life was absolutely mind-blowing to me. Like oh, it's really awesome
we had a lot of things like that.
Yeah, a lot of nostalgic things come to mind when I think to the early days of the league. And you know, like it's not like I believe the league's in a better place now than it was back then, but that doesn't mean that
bigger
the
program
experience is, the program. Oh, he's got me again. But the program where it is now, though it's vastly different, it's like I wouldn't like the experiences that I got, the impact that it had on my life, and how I've grown to like I would never think about casting. Like I would never want to become a caster like back in those days. Like I knew like I had I could public speak and I can do it, but if I'd never had this league, I would never like had that dream or have the goals to become better in that way. And
wouldn't have had that springboard.
No, and it's like it's definitely it was definitely just such a positive experience. Like though it probably wasn't the right thing for the program in whole, like the impacts that it had on individuals, I think was very much beneficial.
Yeah, definitely. So I think that, you know, I maybe have an idea for like casting and some other things that we will have planned for the program, which brings us to our next point. Premortem planning and like the like program roadmap. I want to talk about some of the things that I am working on in the background and have been working on, and kind of what my game plan is for these next few months with the program. But before we talk about that, I think we should preface that with the idea of premortem planning. You know, making sure that these things that we're working on are not, it's not effort done, you know, carried out in vain, that we're using our time efficiently and we're putting it towards the right things. So I'd like to open that up to you then to talk about.
Okay. So I was coming home one Sunday and I was listening to NPR, and this guy came on and he started talking about a thing called premortem planning. And I don't know, I like, ever since I heard that, it changed my outlook on how I want to approach things in my life, especially when it comes to things like whether it comes to in real life things or whether it comes to the Halo side of things. Is his whole idea was that if you plan for things that are going to happen in the future, that big life events that you haven't experienced, and that you give yourself a roadmap to start with on how you're going to handle those things. Because the number one thing you can't do in your life is think clearly when you have stress. Like when you're in a stressful situation, it's impossible to think clearly, right? So if you're in a car accident, like there's no way for you to really know exactly what to do. Like you can't think clearly about it. So this was the example that he gave, was that he thought about it like 2 years in advance. He was like, if I was ever in like a car accident, I'd probably call my family doctor and like give him my symptoms and have him tell me whether I need an ambulance or not, or what needs to happen on the health side of me. So he got in a major accident 2 years ago. He gave the symptoms to his doctor, and the doctor then proceeded to tell him what he needed to do. And then it's not necessarily what the impact came out, but it was because he was in that hyper stressful situation, he was able to think clearly. And that's where I want to get, is where there's a lot of stressful situations in your life, but if you can think about what causes your stress in your life and how you're gonna approach it when that stress happens, that's gonna make the difference. Like, and the biggest thing for me was like, I was trying to think of how to apply it to Halo, and I was like, every time a team gets in a 49-49 situation, the call outs are always the same, right? It's always it's like everyone's screaming at the top of their lungs. Everyone's like trying to frantically find the last person. It's never
or fucking radio silence.
Yeah, or everyone's completely
one or
quiet.
the other. There's no in between.
So it's like, so if you can just picture a 49-49 situation in your head, and you're like, what are the steps that I need to take in a 49-49 or a 49-48, right? And like, to me, it's like, what I was thinking is like, first I'm gonna listen to what my teammates are gonna say. Like, first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna listen for whatever information is pertinent for me. Like, so now this is what I do every time I'm in a 49-49. It's like, I'm gonna take that information, I'm gonna find what's pertinent to me, I'm gonna find the person that's having that information that's pertinent to me, and I'm gonna have like a one-on-one conversation with them in the game. Because I think the most important thing in a 49-49 is making sure that you're with a pair and that you are doing the same thing. Because like, if you're on the same page, right? So if I'm on, so let's say we're talking about Coliseum, and I have the information that there's a player on the other side of Rock. I spawn at the elbow, player at the windows telling me there's a player at their elbow. I'm going to immediately take that information, instead of just like trying to figure out where I need to be going. I'm going to be, okay, that's what I need to do. I need to focus with that guy. I'm going to call out that guy specifically. I'm going to be Stu. Keep what's going on with that guy elbow. Like, how many shots is he in? And I'm going to tell Stu specifically, I'm pushing up top rocks. Get shots with me. Like, stay looking at that guy. And if you can coordinate a push, that's going to be what's important in those 49-49 situations. That's what's going to be important in your Halo situations, is making sure that when you're in those high heat, high tension moments, high stress moments, is having a clear roadmap of how to deal with them, having the roadmap. Now, those situations are going to change, right? Like, no situation in Halo is ever going to be the exact same. Like, there's not just one answer. Sure. But if you can have a simple roadmap that you can follow every time, it's going to make a big difference. Like, when you are down big in Strongholds, and if you've ever had a big comeback, right, where you've been down 70 points in Strongholds, you can feel it in the gameplay, like, when it changes, right? Like, when you know the comeback's happening. Because there's just something that clicks. And it's like, it's a phenomenon to me, bro. Because I know you know exactly what I'm talking about. Like, when you're coming back in Strongholds, like, you know when it's happening. Like, there's a difference between capturing the points and then fighting and playing scrappy. And then there's the time where you get those points and you can feel the
you have all two or three, and then the game is just moving in slow motion where
it's
yourself, your team, you're on the offensive, you're killing everybody, and it just feels easy. Like, it feels like you're the only team on the map and you're just walking around together while your team collects points.
But like, why can't that situation happen in not necessarily like when you're in that advantageous situation? Why does it have to like, it almost feels random, and I don't feel like it needs to feel random. Like, we know what causes those things to happen. We know that it comes from getting the map control and the kills at the same time.
Collapsing on spawns.
The collapse.
Yeah.
So you have those two simple goals in mind. And when you're in that stressful situation where you're getting trip capped, where you are just getting dominated in the entire game, it's like, how are you going to approach making sure that, one, you get the map control that's necessary, and two, that you get the kills that are necessary? And I'm going to start workshopping it myself, because obviously it's still something that's new to me, and I'm trying to figure out the best way to go about it. But getting ourselves in the right frame of mind, getting ourselves in the best communication possible, the best team chemistry possible, whoever you're playing with. I know that we don't have set teams, but obviously we have people that we run with on the pretty normal regular basis. Like, I know that how to play around Josh, Stu, Alex, and Brooks. So those are the players that I would always think about. But I think it's going to be really important to figure out how to calmly make sure that you're getting the map control that you want, and that you're pushing into the kills and getting those collapse, getting the setup to happen. Because it's really easy to play Halo when everything's going right. It's really hard to play Halo when nothing's going right for you and having to break that setup. And I think that's where the top tier players are advancing over other people, is that
that's where the line is drawn.
It absolutely is like how they can play under pressure, and
play together.
And that's the big key, is like playing together, right? And making sure that the player that's across from you is doing the same thing and is on the same page as you. And I'm really excited to like start to like try to implement that. But like in the end, I don't know whether to put it under that big umbrella of premortem planning, but just like take a second
Sure.
outside of a game, outside of the moment, and like think what's the best way to do it. What's the best way to handle those specific situations? And when you give yourself like a clear roadmap to follow, like those stressful situations, like you will perform better in those.
I think
those
that the heuristic then is if the only thinking that we're doing about a situation is when we're thinking on our feet, when we're in that situation, then we're doing something wrong.
Right.
Or that there's a big opportunity to be doing something better.
And it almost goes back into like people always say like that's why you just need to watch your film, like if you're just watching your film. But if you're not watching the film and getting those things out of it, that's where the big difference is coming from. Is
Sure.
like you need to be learning, and then you need to learn, and then from what you can learn all you want, but if you don't know how to apply, it's all for naught, right? So I think right now it's really easy to learn. Like we're in a position where it's good to learn, but we have to learn to apply and how to apply those things. So we have to get out of the bad habits that we're in. We have to stop trying to think in the moment and start to almost have a third person view on your gameplay when you're playing. Like it almost like you have to take yourself out of the moment and let your subconscious do the work. And that's what I think is I am trying to advocate the most is training your subconscious to be the best as it is, so that when you're in those situations you don't have to think, that it just starts to happen. And I think right now I that's a thought experiment that I've been trying to do, is just getting myself like trying to think of what I need to be doing in specific situations.
What do you you know what? I really need to go use the bathroom. So
Okay.
I'm gonna listen to your take in the meantime on what Cody had said about the Strongholds scores. I'll have my headphones on, so I'll still hear you, but you won't hear me.
This is an old issue, but how do you guys feel about extending the score to win in Strongholds so it doesn't feel like such a snowball game type? Extending the score to win. Do you mean like, I guess it would be, how do you mean? That was always wrapped up in the setup breaking thing for me. Well, like 125 points to win. Okay. I don't know. It'd still be the same, right? Like you're just giving. I think Strongholds to me is in a really good spot, because all that would happen is if you extended the score to 125 to 150 is you're just giving the enemy team more opportunities to break the setup, right? So like 120 to 200 from 150. Are you talking about oddball or Strongholds? I don't know. Well, same thing applies. Like it's like this. The game still plays exactly the same, right? Like you're like all that's happening is you're just giving the enemy team more time to like try to break the setup. Which, I mean, if the team's good enough, like they're gonna break setups. And the whole idea, like Halo 5 probably has the least setup based game, because in Halo 2, Halo 3, it was like, you have a player here, you have a player here, you have a player here. If you don't have that, then you're playing it wrong. That's not how you play. Halo 5 is so different. And the fact that spawns are much more reliable in Halo 5 than they are in other games, that you can infer.
Hey fucking men, dude.
You can infer a lot more in Halo 5 than you can in other games. Like I can with a 90% know where people are gonna spawn, just like based on my map knowledge. What is that? Because Splice broke the game. Didn't they change it in the first year? No, Strongholds has always been to 100, right? I'm not crazy.
I think so. So what Cody's talking about, and I was listening to you talk about it, my initial response to what Cody had said about, bringing the score higher, I think that I feel how you feel, that it just gives the team that is being snowballed on, it gives them one or two extra opportunities to break the same setup that they're having difficulty breaking. And I feel like 100 points is long enough that, let's say you start a game 0-0 and a team gets control at the start. Let's say you're playing Rig, right? Let's say you're playing Rig, and let's say that blue team goes ahead, they get the camo, they move back outside, they are controlling car spawns, and they grab nest and they grab basement, and they're forcing you to spawn bunker. and that's the way that the game is playing. So if you start 0-0 and red team is still trapped in bunker with their 1 BR base stronghold, by the time that blue team gets to 100 points, red team has had multiple opportunities to break that setup. In a 50-point run, I think that the team that is being snowballed on, per se, probably has at least 3 full opportunities as a team to break that setup.
Right.
And I think that if you extend that score to 125 or 150, I don't see the difference for a team who can't break a setup in 4 or 5 tries, giving them 6 or 7,
The goal of the game is to have the best team win, right? That's the goal. I just feel like 150 is I don't think the results are going to change. The better team's always going to win. I think the team that's going to win at 100 is 95% of the time going to win at 150.
I think conversely, if the score was shorter, I think if it was 75 points to win, if it was 50 points to win, I wouldn't feel satisfied every game that the better team won. But I think in 100 points, I think that you have enough opportunities on both ends that, by the end of a 100-point stronghold game, whether it's 100-0 or 100-99, I personally am satisfied that, the better team, not necessarily the better team, for sure won the game, but the team who played better that game won the game.
Right.
I'm pretty comfortable with that.
Lot of things have to go right for the team that wins to win to put someone in the underage club. A lot of things have to go right for the team that won. So I don't know, just the way that Halo plays, there's gonna be opportunities to break setups, even if you're not I think most stronghold games where a team gets dominated is probably 100-30, right? That's about the general baseline of a team that just was getting outperformed 100-30, right? A team that's just getting absolutely dominated on spawns, on top, everything going right for them, 100-15. That's but that's insane. That's a team having everything go right for them. There's absolutely opportunities for the enemy team to recover in 100 points. And though the game,
go ahead.
The game plays a lot different now because teams are a lot more aware of how great trip capping is. Trip capping in strongholds is I think 100% should be your priority because it does what I think Fender's trying to say, it shortens the game. Mm-hmm. But to be a successful team at trip capping, you also have to be just a really smart team, right? So you have to be aware, because that's when you're starting to overextend yourself, and that's when you're leaving opportunities for the other team to break you. But if you're a really good team, you'll know when to give up a stronghold, when to push back away, to give up the trip cap. And I think that's the biggest thing that differentiates good teams with better teams, is that they know they get the trip cap right, but they know when to give it up. They know when to go back to the 2 and then to play recovery, and not to give up the whole map control. Because you'll see it a lot. Teams go for a trip cap, and if they're not on the same page, it'll immediately get broken into a 2. You'll just start getting scored on the opposite way. But I don't know.
I think that, and my response to Cody's second interjection is regarding that pro teams weren't loving strongholds. He says because it's too easy to run that spawn rotation and win the game without a setup being broken. And I think that's different than the score. And yeah, I know you're just asking, Cody. I don't think that you're arguing at all. So I think it's different than the score conversation, because I don't see a longer score as a solution to what you're saying in that second point. Is it's about how difficult is it to break a setup, and that's a different conversation, right? So I think that extending the score doesn't make it easier to break a setup. It just gives you a couple opportunities to do so. But the idea of breaking a setup, that's really difficult. And my first thoughts as far as breaking a setup, and this is something that we've experienced in the HDL this season, playing teams with pro players on them, is that we sometimes get caught on that back foot and it goes the whole game, and we'll play a team even for a part of that game, and then they'll just absolutely murder us once it starts to snowball. Or alternatively, they'll snowball us on a game of strongholds, like the scrim we played the other night. We went 6-1 in the series, and our one loss was a rigged strongholds game that we lost 100-11. We beat that team every other game that we played, but we weren't able to break their setup and stop them from snowballing us in that one game out of all 7 of those. So I think that there's without a doubt, like, it's difficult to break a setup of a team that is, that knows what they're doing, and they are aware, and they are flying at you, and that they have the gun skill. It's very difficult to do that. But that being said, my first thoughts now, with all of that preface, is that I don't know that it's any more difficult to break a setup for a team collapsing on you in Strongholds than it is in Slayer. I think that if you're getting collapsed on in Slayer, it's the same exact feeling and the same way to get out of it as it is in Strongholds. If you're playing Rig Slayer versus Rig Strongholds, if you have that team that's flying on you and collapsing on your spawns, you break it the same way, in my opinion. That being said, it's difficult to do that. It's difficult when the whole enemy team, like, if you just think about the positioning of a team on a map, if you have all 4 players stacked on top of each other in bunker or outside, and then the whole other team knows that they're going to be there, and they have, let's say, they can go through underpass, they can go through Nest Bridge, they can go through Whitehall to get out to Cat to look outside, they can go play Long Haul, they could play Basement Window, they could be really weird and like have a guy in sewers, they could play from like back rail in Yellow Corner. So that's like 7 different options, and like the guys who are spawning in car or spawning in bunker, they don't have any options for where to spawn. They're on one side or the other if that team that's snowballing is doing it right. So then that team that's spawning car or in bunker has to think about those 7 different places that a player can come from, and then think about how many are going to push from each of those 7 places. So obviously the team that is collapsing has an inherent advantage. So then what Cody's talking about now is like, how do we make it so that advantage isn't as strong, that there is a possibility of being able to break those setups or like generate 1 or 2 picks off of your back foot to get back in the game. And like, I don't know if that's obviously there are things like as a team that you can do, but I think that part of the problem maybe is like from a game design standpoint. That being said, I don't know what you can change from a game design standpoint to try and slow that down. But whatever you're going to do with that, it's not going to be a Strongholds thing. It's going to be like a map design thing, because you have those same issues in Strongholds or Slayer. So
yeah, I think that's a large part of the problem. Like, I don't even want to say it's a problem, because I don't think it's a problem. Is that
I don't feel that it is either.
Halo,
I think that it just really forces, like, that is one of the most difficult things I think in Halo. Yeah, and that we've gotten to experience now as coaches, playing together, playing against high level competition. Like, that's one of our biggest challenges, is how do we get off of our back foot when a team is fucking us?
Right. And I think that's just like, when it comes to Halo in general, like, Halo has always been setup based, right? Like, there's obviously like power positions that make it harder for the enemy team when they are put in a bad position to come out of. But the beautiful thing about arena shooters is that each team has the same opportunity to get into that position. From the start, from the first initial break, like, all it takes is 1 slay, right? Mm-hmm. And then from there, you can try to break the setup and get into that same setup and give yourself the advantage. Like, all Halo is trying to give yourself giving yourself an advantage over the next gunfight, like, against the next player. Because at the end of the day, it's always just, you have the same weapons, you're shooting at each other, you have the same health, like, there's no difference.
That's why I love arena shooters.
Yeah, it's like, that's like between Call of Duty and Halo. That's the difference. Is like, Call of Duty, you spawn in, you can have a sniper, and the sniper takes away a player in the first beginning. In Halo, everyone spawns with that pistol. There's weapons on the map that everyone can pick up. Now there is like a sniper rifle on the map, but you're gonna play. Each team gets the equal opportunity to play for that control, and everything is. And I think that's the way that, if you're not approaching Halo like that right now, you need to approach it where, how am I going to get a bigger advantage on the next fight that I'm going to be in? If you're going to play, like, if you're in a fight where you're alive and they're dead and they spawn up and you're in that next fight and you're in an equal one-on-one situation, then you did something wrong, because you shouldn't be in that situation. You should never be in that situation. If you had control, you need to be in a situation where you have a one-shot advantage over the other player. And that they need to make it up somehow by either team shooting you, making a sneaky play, just out shooting you. Like, they have to earn the fact to get back in that control, because they're the ones that let you have it. And like if you're gonna be the one that's on the back foot, like, you have to earn that position back. I don't want it to be like, setups are so important. I think they're great for Halo because you have to earn those setups, and if you're gonna break them, like, you have to earn them back. Like, that's the way everything in Halo's earned. Like, there's nothing that just comes.
So what I think about when I think about what you're saying about the distinction of what do I do now that I'm here, and how much do I deserve this because I let them do this to us in the first place? What kind of came to mind for me as like an analogy was with if you think about like mixed martial arts or Brazilian jiu-jitsu. If somebody were to take your back, right? If they were to take your back and they were to start to like lock in like a rear naked choke. It's different when they get your back. That's different from them having your back and then having an arm under your neck. And that's different from them having your back, having an arm under your neck, and then the other hand locked in and behind their head. And really, like, once someone gets to that point where you have it all locked in and you have that arm under their neck and their chin is like above your arm, so you're straight on their neck, like, there's no defense for that, really. Like, you're pretty much screwed because you let them get to that point. So then what the conversation then becomes, because this is, you know, something that is a little bit different. Obviously, it's a game, right? And it's like, the point of that is that there's like balancing aspects that go into it, like, that are unique to that game. You talk about then how easy is it for a team to start to snowball in another team. So you want to think about what ways it makes it more difficult for a team to start to snowball. So I think that maybe there might be like some map design moves, but one thing that came to mind then when I was thinking about what makes it more difficult for a team then to collapse, like, what do you think about like reducing spawn timers from what they are? Like, decrease them by a couple of seconds. Do you think that helps a team get out of, you know, their snowballing position if they can get back on the map quicker?
Those are game balances that you have to keep in mind when you mess with, because like, that was a big thing for me in doubles. Like, remember when they reduced the respawn time in doubles from, I believe it was like
8 to 6,
I think it was 8 to 5, bro. Like, it's not even 6. I think 6 is what we play on, because 5 is way too short. Because this is what happens when it's at 5 seconds, and this is what happened when doubles. Because I was a huge doubles player when that.
Something that happens at MCC doubles now.
Yeah,
your teammates fucking spawning right on people.
Yeah, like you're getting punished for making the good play. Yeah. Like, and that's what happens when you reduce the timer too much, is that you made the good play, you got the kill, and you're starting your collapse. But because the spawn time is so fast, like, they're getting rewarded because, not necessarily that you're in a bad position, but because of where they spawn, your position now becomes bad because they weren't supposed to be there. Like,
there have literally been times playing MCC doubles with Josh where I have rationalized that the better play would have been for me to literally give up my life to then spawn on Josh, like, you know, to kill then like 1.5 shielded people. So we get a like +1 trade and a power position because I decided to just throw my life away a few seconds before I would have if I continued to fight.
Right, and the game, like,
it's just ridiculous.
The game theory goes even further when you go back into Halo CE, because Halo CE, that was the only spawn wait, was your teammate, right? Is that you're gonna spawn on your teammate. So then players had to, like, that's obviously not good. Like, when you know that's gonna happen, and that's the difference between Halo 3 and Halo 1, is that in Halo 3 it happens, but it's not a consistent thing. But in Halo 1, it's consistent. So you want to find spot, like in Halo 1, you're finding spots to stand in because you know if you stand in that spawn, your player will get a random spawn. Like, that's how game theory was in Halo 1, and that's how far back it goes. In Halo 3, this is why I hate playing doubles in Halo 3, is like, you'll just go up to someone. Like, you'll be in a fight, they are one shot, and their teammate spawns literally behind them. Like that, and that's and like the same thing would happen in Halo 5 if you reduce the timer too much. You're instead of rewarding the team that went and got the setup, that did all the work that's required to be in this position that they're in, if you let them spawn up too fast, like, they're gonna get caught out because they made a good play, like, because they made the right decision, because they went out, applied this aggression, got the kills. Now the player spawns up while they're still one shot from winning a fight. that they can't get away. Like, it's just the timer needs to be longer in Halo. Like, that's the punishment for dying, is that it takes you 8 seconds to spawn. Right? Yeah. Like, you have to think of that as the cost of dying. Is the cost of dying is, one, you lose your map control, and one, you're off the map for 8 seconds. And that's why I tell everyone it's so important to play your life, because that's 8 seconds of opportunity that you can fight. So if you die, let's say you die 20 times 12, that's 120 seconds that you are not on the map. Or 20 times 8, not 12. I don't know why I said 12. That's a long time. 20 times 8, 160 seconds that you're not on the map, right? Mm-hmm. That's a lot of time that you cannot be shooting something. That's why it's so important, like, that you get away from fights. Like, you can reduce that time that you're not applying pressure on the map.
So, yeah, I think that we
got a little off track.
Yeah, I mean, so there's no doubt that, like, time management was just, like, not good tonight, but it's not really something we cared about.
No,
we were having fun, like, doing what we're doing. We don't have, like, other things going on. I low-key kind of had, like, a meeting, like, loosely scheduled with Abstract to talk with him tonight, but that's not more important to me than finishing, like, having a good time with this.
Transitioning.
So, talking about program planning now. What? Oh, Gary, can you open up that, or just, like, send me the link to that Google Doc in our DMs?
It's pinned in our DMs.
I like how you had it broken down, because I'd written it already. Okay. Hold on.
But
can I see it with this? I have many windows open at the moment.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat.
Because I can't see the pinned messages while I have this open.
Yeah, I got you. I just opened it up. I'll send it to you. Look, guys, we actually prepared for the podcast. Crazy.
Yes, we do. Yeah, I can't see the pinned messages while we have the video call open.
I got it. My solution to that, life pro tip for next time, is that I open up a browser with the with Discord.
Oh, Gary, you're so smart. Okay. All right. So we have it broken down with the timeline. 1 month from now, these are the things that will have changed, or I would like to have implemented. So I would like to have the new program website pretty much either up or ready to roll. That is obviously dependent on Adam. He is my firepower as far as, like, implementing the things that we want to implement. I'm not asking for any crazy features, and, like, there's no... When you're a web developer working with a client, you have to talk to them a lot about what they want, what their vision is for the website, what their values are, so that you know how to design the website so that it's written in a way that conveys the things that are important to the people and gives them the functionality that's important to the client. So I'm kind of the client here, and I've given Adam pretty much all of, like, the text and, like, what I want, like how many pages I want and what I want on the pages. So I, like, pretty much have that. We just need Adam to have a little bit more time to lend to us to get that designed and handled. So we are coming along with that. I'm really excited about it. And I would love for that to happen sometime in the next month. So that's cool. Also, HDL. This season is ending. I don't know that the players will be making playoffs. That is to be determined. Abstract did mention interest in giving priority to teams that, played all their games because they were responsible. They did what they needed to do. They didn't take any shortcuts or, like, game the system in any way. They just got all their games in the way that they're supposed to. So players might. I hope that the coaches will, both because we have, and I think that, we're, like, just from standings alone, like, we're pretty much there.
I think we got punished for playing as many games as we did, because we definitely could have forfeited a lot of games, and we didn't, which ended up being losses.
Which we talked about. So I think that the season will be wrapping up for HDL. As far as, like, what next season looks like, I still have to talk to Abstract about what, like, my personal involvement with HDL is going to be. I reached out to him recently to discuss that. I didn't agree with the decisions that they're making and how they're going to move forward and what their game plan is for down the road. We talked a little bit about that, and it's not like that there was, like, argument or, like, one thing or the other. We're just, like, trying to understand each other a little more.
Yeah, I think our directions are definitely north and south at the moment. Like,
Yeah, so he has given me reason to believe that maybe they might take another season to focus on HDL before they think about doing other things, because what I talked about, like learning the lessons and like getting a strong foundation for what you want to do. Me just talking with Abstract personally, like HDL SVP aside, just like from, you know, man to man, and me expressing like the types of things that I've learned in my experience with the program. You know, I said like, you know, I would like to see him just like from, you know, I don't know that we're like friends, but like we're definitely cool. And I like him as a person. So, you know, I think that his heart is in the right place, and he's like trying to work this all out, and just like I was maybe a couple of years ago, right? So I think that there's a possibility that he might do another season. So we're still going to talk about that. And I don't know what my personal involvement is going to look like. That being said, I don't see it likely that we kind of sponsored HDL a little bit this time, where we had a lot of people volunteer our time to do things like casting. We had a couple people volunteer to be divisional managers and admin and stuff like that. I don't know that we'll look to sponsor them in the same way that we did this last season, where we're offering them that manpower and that we're like trying to make an official like SVP team, and that we encouraged you guys to like put in for the draft and like to have a team. So I think next season, for the players that are interested in participating, at least, like if you guys are going to draft, like you're going to be on your own more so than you were this last season. I'm not going to have that push for you guys to go and participate. I'm not going to be lobbying for you guys to get on teams together and things like that. It really will be like more on you guys individually to decide if that's something that you're interested in doing, to go ahead and like stretch and get practice. You're still going to have our support, and we'll help you like go over film and like take care of business. So it's not an issue at all that you're participating. It's just that I personally, if I'm not going to be aligned with them, like for their vision and like what they're doing, like I'm not going to push you guys to be a part of that. So I don't know what that's going to look like. And as far as the coaches, like I don't think that we're too inclined to continue as a team. We still want to play together and play together regularly, but playing together with the structure that HDL offers, where we have to be available for certain times and like have that commitment that isn't as flexible to us as it could be if we just wanted to get together and run scrims against those teams. Like we're playing to get better. We're not playing to compete. So that being said, if we want to do that, there's nothing that's keeping us from scrimming those teams that are competing. We're getting the same competition, but we're doing it on our terms. So like for what we want out of it, we don't really have a lot of benefit to play. So I think that, you know, in a month from now, HDL will be finished. And like, I think that will, you know, the season of HDL will be finished, and that'll be the distinction for us and what's going to change there. So that's the 1 month overlook. Gary, do you have anything before I go on?
I think it was a good point. Like, we would probably like I to be expected that we'll take a bigger step back from HDL, but we're still definitely talking to Abstract and the people that the founders per se, like and just giving them our thoughts and how we think that the program can be better implemented. But that being said, anything you want to like talk about the website right now, like whether like what features you're planning to have on it. And,
sure. Yeah, we could do that.
Like, because we know a website's happening, but we're not real sure what the purpose of the website is from someone that's looking outside.
Okay, just 1 second. So I'm actually using a website with Adam called Trello. So what Trello is it's kind of like almost like a little organizer type of app that helps you like organize your thoughts and like set subtasks for like different things that you want to do. So like the way that I have my Trello board set up is I have like the different aspects of the website that are important, and then the like sub goals or deliverables that are necessary to like get those things that I want. So like it's an easy way for us to communicate and organize like requirements basically. So what I'm trying to do now is log into whatever that account is. That way I can have that in front of me. I don't remember what my login information is. Oh, I think I got it. SVP website revamp. Right on. Okay, so and Dustin, we actually do plan our document with like what we're gonna do and like how much time each thing is gonna take. It's just that we chose not to completely neglect that today. So yeah.
The runtime
So like
was
we
supposed
have
to be
that.
138
We know.
minutes.
Yeah. So I mean it's fine. But all right, yeah. So we have the homepage. We're in basically big picture. What my goal with the website is that I like the Weebly site is okay. I just thought we haven't updated it in a while, and it's not really reflective of what we do currently. And that being said, like to edit it, like it's a little clunky. Like it's nice for people who don't have any web development experience. So like if we didn't have any other alternatives, we'd probably stick with that, and I would, just like work a little bit on it myself because I have a little bit of a background. But we have like Adam who does that partially for a living, available, as well as like some other guys in the in the program. So we have the freedom to like do a little more. So I want to do something that we have a little bit more control over how things are laid out. I have like a look that I'm going for, and even if we don't have a lot of traffic to the website right now, like once Infinite comes along, like that's going to be important. So
it's good to have the foundation ahead of time rather than scrambling
so
to make a
this
website
well in
before.
advance, and I also like pretty things. So so we're gonna have a homepage, gonna have an about us that I think is relatively similar to what we have now. I'm also gonna have like a coach/member showcase, so gonna have coaches and players and pictures and like little notes about each of us. I started with a specific subset of players that have already been contacted, and all of the coaches. So we're going to list like our specialties and like little bios, and it's just going to be nice because people will be able to see kind of some of the people that are involved. Gives us a little bit more like personality, which is something that I want as a leader politically. I want us to have that on there. So yeah, I don't know. That's just one purpose that serves. So I want that to be a part of that. So that's good. Gonna update the application, which we have to talk about what we want for the application, like what questions we think were helpful in the initial application that we've been keeping. We could talk about that another time, maybe the next podcast. But definitely going to refresh the application, and that's just going to be on an application page. We're going to embed like an event calendar, so like a Google calendar, into the site. So that's just an easy way to see calendar wise like kind of what's going on. So like really, I don't know that it offers like a ton of like new features or anything. We're not going to have like a members portal or anything just because we have a Discord. There's no need for that. Maybe we'll have like a little album of our pictures, maybe a little like clip Hall of Fame type of thing, just like maybe a little like program montage, something like that. That we maybe on like the homepage or something we could do like a other homepage or like a different page, we could like link the Spartan 5 program Twitch to it so that all of our broadcasts will show up on the website. And then also like if a player is playing and we're hosting that with the SVP account, like maybe that'll show on the website, which would be cool. And I think that's within our power to do. So those are currently like the types of things that we have planned. And as far as like the type of aesthetic that we're going for, so we're going for something simple, something dark, something pretty. You don't need like a lot of scrolling, so maybe like a black background with like splashes of color. So like kind of how our YouTube banner used to be. I love that aesthetic where it's black, and then we have the really like bright flashes of like red and blue coming in from the sides of the screen. Gary, can you get that up on the screen?
Yeah, that thing is it's pretty looking. You talking about the YouTube splash screen?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I updated a version with like the new logo and stuff. So like the one that you bring up on YouTube will have the old one, I think. But the wallpaper idea is the same, and I like that aesthetic a lot. So,
question is, when I open this up, is it gonna?
Or you could bring up the
podcast thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was saying we could do that, but
it'd be that minus our faces.
minus the
in
faces.
the text.
Yeah,
and the text.
but
Yes.
it's really cool looking. Like, I definitely like. I thought that was like the coolest design thing that we ever did was like those like. I don't know how to describe that design feature, but I really loved that design that we have for our logos with the.
Yes. Adam does not do graphic design, so what I would probably want to do is I'd want to reach out to some of the people in our program that do. So Rick and Munchie do good work, and the one who did a lot of what we use is Odious Wraith, who I think would have been Rage. I think used to be his tag.
Yeah.
So
I mean, we're still on good terms with him. Like, I'm sure he'd be willing.
yeah, definitely, 100%. And I'd be happy to like raise a little money and like pay him too, because we didn't get to pay him for the things that we do have now, and I'm sure that the number of people in the program who've like talked to me about just like being able to help out however they can. Like if I just held a little donation thing to like go ahead and like pay him for like some new work and maybe make it some of that old work right, I would definitely, like, I could see us doing that and that going well. So did you get that up on the screen, Gary?
Yeah, I already had it up and gone. Do you want to back
Oh, okay.
up?
Oh no, it's cool. I missed it. That's fine. I mean, I already know what it looks like.
And the 343 Guilty Sparkles logo is going to be actively on the page at all times, right?
Of course, actively.
Of course. It pops. It's just like a pop-up. Like, you think it's an ad, but it's actually just it's a feature.
A feature. Yeah. So all right. So that's what I would like to have. If not a month from now, like that's short-term website and HDL stuff. 3 months from now, we talked about the possibility of like a curriculum, which we talked about earlier in the Fire Team Integrity project, that we did have a little bit of a standard curriculum for that, which has its pros and its cons. Right. I think that the pros of that is that there's like a baseline understanding of like what players should know at a minimum. And then also it gives you a good, for those of you who like don't know like which thing to work on and you're kind of everywhere trying to work on everything at once, it gives you specificity and it lets you drill down and work on one or two specific skills at once, which is really helpful. But that being said, it's hard to stick to a curriculum when people have different schedules and they feel like a pressure to commit to a curriculum that I don't want to place that pressure on, because I like people being able to do this on their own terms, right, in a way that's comfortable for them.
I'd almost like say that like take it as a roadmap on how to get better. Like you can definitely just a rough outline of things that you can do.
So not a mandatory curriculum, but like a soft curriculum is something that I would like to develop by 3 months from now. I want to have a little bit more information about that, and not just for players, but also for like coaches. So one of the issues that we had with the program initially is that even though we had players who were skilled, that didn't translate well into coaching. So we had coaches that they were coaches, but they weren't doing coaching maybe with the same success that maybe I did or Gary or whoever else. And some coaches just have different styles. So like I don't remember who specifically, like I don't want to stay like Stu or Josh or somebody else, but some coaches' styles might be more consultory. So like when something is going on, then they're happy to like help and take the time and help you work through something, but it's different than a continuous engaging thing. And also some like to be more personally involved with their players and their lives and what's going on, rather than just like Halo things. So I think that I would like to at least have like a base level of coaching for the coaches and like help coach some of the coaches on how to coach if we're gonna have like more people come in and help out or whatever. So 3 months from now, I'd like to have like a better understanding of what a curriculum for players and coaches might look like. Also, I would like to see 3 months from now that we have continued to stick to our schedules for podcasts and fight nights. I think that the first fight night was really successful. Podcasts have been great so far. So I want to keep that going. And 3-4 months from now, I would like that to continue to have been the case. That'll be our check-in time. 6 months from now, I would like to do a little more. Like I've already talked about like setting office hours for myself. So maybe I'm doing that ahead of time now. But I I would also like to do some more like regular events. I wanted to start with the podcast and fight nights, but I would like to have a regular 8s night, either like bi-weekly or monthly at a minimum. I would like that to be a thing more regularly. So that's kind of like my 6-month date. I think that I would like to have that implemented by then, if not, significantly sooner. And I think that's something the players have been asking for a while as well. So that's something that I'm definitely interested in. And then my last note here is Halo Infinite. So once Infinite comes, what's our game plan? So it's to maintain all of the above that I just mentioned. The focus will be to maintain our current culture with new people. Obviously, when we get new people in, having one person in at a time, it's not difficult to manage that change because people more or less will like acclimate to the climate. So like Dio's come in, and Dio's like a little part of the family now. She hasn't been here that long, but she comes in, she sees how it is. We got her in at the last fight night. She actually said she wasn't going to make it, but then she thought about all of her best friends in SVP, and then she made it. She blew whatever she had going on to come hang out with us.
She had
right?
by far the best series of that night. That was
yeah. So she's part of the family now, right? Yeah. So when we get like a single player like that, it's easier to manage like that one player coming in and get them up to speed and in line with the culture quicker than if we have a bunch of people coming in at once, right? That's a lot of change to manage. So
what note maintaining on that before you move on?
Go ahead.
That's gonna be largely a group effort. So like anyone that's listening, right? Like
it's on us.
It's not just a Brooks, Gary, Stu, Josh thing. That's a Mega Zyme. That's a every player. That's a Justice. That's limits. That's like every player is gonna have a little bit of responsibility. That when you have someone that comes in, you need to make sure that they understand what the culture is and not that they necessarily have to like it's this way or the highway, but rather that they know what the expectation is of coming in and being a part of the program, and we expect everyone to set that precedent when people do come in.
Definitely. So, yes. So that's a potluck mentality. We all are a part of this thing and we're in it together. So everyone has to pitch in how we can to continue to preserve it. So I think that it starts with me, but it continues with everybody. So, yes. So there's that. Advertising and marketing. So I think that I'm interested in like bringing more people in, both coaches and players. It offers us new perspectives, more opportunities for growth. So even though we could continue on now, I think for us to have strong levels of vitality, it's important at that time to open it up to new people and like help more people. We want to share what we have now with more people and like get more people in line with us and make new friends, make more memories, that type of thing, and make an impact on people's lives. Like that's what I want. That's part of my vision, and I think that a lot of people of you will share that with me. So it definitely is an initiative to get new people, at least at that time. So advertising and marketing is something we'll have to think about, as well as reassessing the application process, because we want to make sure that we're getting maybe people with the right type of mentality coming in, and to try and eliminate we want to preserve that culture, right? So we want to be very careful about bringing in people that will pretty clearly be disruptive to that culture, because that'll just be unnecessary. So reassessing the application process and how we're going to continue to try and monitor our gates somewhat effectively. And then I wrote here revise game plan.
Yeah, it was more like addressing whether we're going to maintain this current status quo.
Yes, that is exactly what that is. So talking about like whether we're going to have any organizational changes or like do something different than the free-flowing thing that we've kind of been doing now, which I'm inclined to do, but at that time maybe we'll have a different opinion. So yeah, so that's kind of like what's to come over the next 6 months to Infinite.
I'm excited, man. Like, it's good to be like, because for a while we were just coasting and like just doing this self-preservation thing, like just self-managing, and everything just kind of worked out. But it's kind of exciting to have new goals to look forward to, and like
Yes.
To be,
I'm also excited by it.
Yeah, to be working towards stuff is going to be fun once again. I'm gonna say we should probably wrap by like 10:05. Like, so
we're gonna leave player expectations for next time.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. So I think we're just gonna move on over and talk about Fight Night and how awesome it was. Like, how
dude,
great.
Fight Night was so much fucking fun.
Yeah,
it was so much fun. It was so good, man. There were so many so Xavier's been working really hard on the highlights. He has had a lot of issues. Like I said, he just like had some stuff come up. He was sick for a little while, and then also his computer was like crashing constantly trying to edit this huge ass file. So I think that we're finally done. We just need to upload it to YouTube, if I'm not mistaken. So as soon as that's up, like, I'll let you guys know. And then definitely next time we're going to get that up a little more expeditiously. I think that my computer will maybe do a little bit better of a job of handling it, and I'm pretty comfortable at least doing a minimalist job of editing it. So Xavier has some of the highlights really nice where, for example, like that clip with Adam and like shooting that grenade with the sniper rifle on Plaza with his one-on-one with Mega. Like, so once that happens, there's a little like box in screen replay of that happening, you know, in Xavier's highlights. So like that's really cool. And then he also like brings the Twitch chat over. So he'll bring like the Twitch chat over for like certain parts that are relevant in the Twitch chat. He'll like kind of probably play that over the screen while the video is going on. So like he does some of those things that like I haven't done before in my video editing experience, but like I can like trim stuff. So like if there's a concern with Xavier maybe not being able to get to the next one with a little more like haste than he got this time, like getting it out quickly is something that like is a priority for me. So if he thinks that that might be an issue for him on the next one, there's like I'll probably just do it and it'll be a little more minimalist and maybe might not be as high quality as Xavier or have some of his bells and whistles, but I think that we're going to get the next one out quicker for sure. But this one should be done soon. And I'm really excited to share it with everybody and just like kind of relive that because that was a fun ass night, dude. It was so fun.
I'm excited for the next one. Like, and I think that'll be a really good addition to like SVP tradition. Like, I hope that's the thing that we're like a year down the road that we're thinking like, wow, that was a really like that was a big impact on the program. Like, I'm hoping that it becomes part of the regular rotation.
Yeah, I have no doubt. Yeah,
because it gets everyone together, man. Like that's the best thing is like everyone's in a party, everyone's talking. Like, we definitely have like everyone has their personalities. Like me and Xavier have very different personalities. So we're going at it. But I'm excited. It's just great to get everyone together, and I hope to do it more often and on a regular basis where it can be has the consistent turnout that we're hoping for.
Yeah, and I mean on top of it just being like a ton of fun, like it shows that everybody like has their place, right? Like everybody has a place on the program and a place in the family, right? And you know that it's not about like winning or losing. We get together and it shows people that it's okay, right? Like they go ahead and they get in that one-on-one and like they win or they get shit on and it's like not a big deal. The main thing is that we were laughing, that we were having fun about it. It doesn't matter who won or who lost, right? And I think that just continues to propagate that culture that we're trying to continue to instill, right?
100%.
So I think that the Fight Night was an awesome idea and I'm very much interested in continuing that. So
that being said,
I
think that's a good way to wrap up this podcast since we're about 1 minute away from being 3 hours on the dot.
Yes.
I had a lot of fun. Like, it's really good to do this. I think we'll be having we're doing this bi-weekly. How are we doing it?
More or less bi-weekly. I think that the next bi-weekly date would put us in a little bit of trouble. So looking ahead, right? Next bi-weekly would be July 6th. So the thing with that is that Gary, you are away. Shoshana is coming to visit me like that weekend, so she'll be here from like the 3rd to the 7th or something. So like that's not really something that is in line with what either of us are doing. And I know that there are some other people who will be traveling for the holiday or have people over that weekend. So what I'm thinking tentatively right now, we have Fight Night scheduled for the 6th, but I think that we'll probably plan our next podcast / fight night to be the 13th.
Mark the calendars, guys. The 13th. I think that would be a good date. The 13th is gonna be, I think, a good date. Everyone will be coming back from their weekend. We should be having a good time. And so, how to expect it to be? This is tentative format. How we're gonna have it is podcast. Well, we're gonna try to keep it hour and a half, I believe, possibly 2, and we're gonna discuss that after the feedback from today, because I'm sure we're not gonna do another 3-hour one. I promise.
Yeah,
guys.
no.
But so we'll have the 2-hour, hour and a half to 2-hour podcast, and then from there we'll transition immediately into Fight Night. That will be broadcasted on the Spartan Fight program channel somehow, some way. It will happen, and we hope to just have it be. We hope to have the Spartan Fight program channel, Twitch channel, to be live more often with program sanctioned events. So that's going to be the big, these two things are going to be the big stepping stones to making that happen, is the podcast and the and Fight Night. And from there,
there's 2 ways to do it. Yeah. Then we start to implement aids and some other things. So,
right. So that's the goal. And that goes back to our 3-month planning thing. And that's what we're hoping to do. That being said, any last words for the people out there, Brooks?
Yes. So I know that this is a little longer. When I upload this to YouTube, I'm going to go back through and timestamp in the description when we talk about certain topics. So for people that are interested in going back, and either if you were here and you want to revisit certain topics, it'll be easy for you to do that. Alternatively, if you were not here, and obviously if you're not here, you're not hearing this now, but for those people who won't have had the opportunity to watch tonight, they'll have that in the description. So even though it'll be 3 hours, if you hear someone talk about it and they're like, oh, it's 3 hours, I'm not going to watch it, just say hey, in the description there's going to be timestamps for when we talk about specific topics. So at least go take a look and see which things would be interesting for people to hear. So we're going to do that. And I think besides that, I think that's pretty much it. I'm really thankful that we had a good turnout again the second time. We've maintained 10 to 15 viewers the whole time, and doing that for 3 hours is kind of a huge deal. So
it's all thanks to you guys.
Yeah, so I'm glad. I hope that we continue to have this turnout, and that we have people interested, and that this is something that you guys are enjoying and finding helpful and whatever. So
also
it was really good.
If anyone has any suggestions for things that they want to hear us talk about, or just program specific things, please either SVP podcast channel on the Discord, or DM me or Brooks. We'll definitely get to it. And we still want to have some players for player highlights. So if you are available on the 13th to talk, please let us know. And
something that maybe I was thinking about, and I was kind of a half joke, consoling myself, is I don't know if you guys think that maybe everyone was reaching out to be highlighted and come be a part of it. So you're I won't do it for now because everybody's probably reaching out. I don't want them to come and tell me later. I think we had Munchie and Arrow reach out. I think that was it. That were proactive in reaching out and saying that they were down to be a part of it, which I'm definitely down to have Tyler on, and to have Ian on as well. But I did want to start with some of the players, and yeah, so just reach out if that's something that's interesting to you, because we really loved doing that with Mikey last week, or 2 weeks ago. So definitely reach out.
All right, guys, thanks for coming out. July 13th, mark the calendars. We'll try to have some advertising on the Discord as the date gets closer. Make sure that everyone knows that it is coming. But thank you guys for hanging out for 3 hours. Like I said, it's easy for us. All we have to do is talk. You have to listen to us. So we appreciate you guys staying here. Thank you guys so much. We are out.